All right, everybody. I think we are live at the moment. Hopefully, the black site ad ran okay. Oof. Okay, there we go. Cool. We have a screen. Cool. Okay, if I could just 2 seconds get confirmation that the black site ad ran and that we sound okay. All right, cool, awesome. The sound is sounds okay. LSR, welcome to the stream. Tuffy ears, because movie. Thanks everybody for coming out. All right, we are live one more time. So far, I have Damon on the screen. Damon, hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yep, no problem, mate.
Okay, if anyone could please give me a sound test and let me know if Damon sounds okay. A second ago.
Check one, check two, check three, check four.
All right, because movie, was that both me and Damon or just Damon? Oh boy. Thank you, OBS, for embarrassing me in front of people on three continents. I appreciate that. Damon is a little muffled and hard to hear. Okay, before we get started, everybody, give me 2 seconds to mic and auxiliary. Oh, okay. I think I know what might be causing that. Give me 1 second, everybody. Desktop audio device disabled. That might have been it. Okay, could you give me one more sound test, Damon, and then let me know if that hopefully that sounds any better, everybody.
Evening all, how you doing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, LSR, we did hear from Rasmus that he was a little late. Okay, cool, awesome. Yeah, I had the sound not quite set up quite. I was trying to reduce feedback and noise fan, and I reduced the some of the sound settings. Unwittingly, I also sort of muted Damon when I did that, so I fixed that. I've got an external battery powered fan that's very quiet, blowing on my underneath my laptop right now, so that will hopefully keep the noise a little under control. We've had some audio issues lately with sound and too many apps running on the machine at the time, but hopefully we're in better shape now. So cool. Tuffy Ear says we sound better. LSR sounds good. Hey, welcome about games. Hello, Chris. How you doing? Hey, Chris. Okay, we've already done this, bro. Leave me alone now. Okay, okay. Hopefully we should be back now. All right, everybody. Apologies for some quick TV issues. Go away, please. All right. Our usual technical issues seem to be hurdled. The one sort of consolation I have with all these issues we tend to have on our streams is when you go to watch people who do this stuff literally for a living. They stream all the time. They have thousands of viewers. They have hundreds of thousands of subscribers over on YouTube. Every single time they go to start a stream, they have 5, 10, sometimes 20 minutes of audio issues, technical issues, video issues, streaming issues. So we're running with the pack. It sounds like. There you go. So yeah, Walkabout Games is with us. Dylan is with us from over in Australia. We're all over the place. Dylan, yes, it is now 2 o'clock p.m. here in the United States, East United States. 7 Eastern. I'm sorry, 7 in the UK. It is, I don't even want to know, coming up on 4 a.m. in the morning over there in Australia, over there in Queensland, and he hasn't gone to bed yet, so I'm told. So he's on one of those. He's on one of those marathons. I'm not sure what he's up to over there, but maybe he'll tell us in one of his future YouTube videos. I've been checking out your YouTube videos over there, LSR. Yeah, your critical game reviews. They look pretty good. Okay, so we have two players that are going to be gaming with us today. We have Damon over there in the UK, and then up in Ohio we have Rasmus, who will be joining us shortly. He's running a little late, so yeah, absolutely, no problem, Dylan. Especially now that you got to some games that are more along my level of command. Land of the Free, command tactical level, American Revolution. That's right up my alley. I'm gonna have to give that game a try one of these days. based on your recommendations. So we have a very large map, a very empty map, here for our retest of redesigned and reconfigured 1991 Gulf War counters in Panzer Leader. We tried this a couple weeks ago, solitaire. Again, it was literally like the beginnings of a playtest, the beginnings of a beginnings of a playtest. It went okay, but there were some pretty serious issues. Some of the counters had math that was sort of driven by Panzer Leader rules. Some of them were driven by Panzer Blitz rules. Some of them were driven by Arab Israeli rules. These all kind of get mashed together into one game called Tactical Combat Middle East by Toshash Miniatures. And even that I'm not running out of the book because there are some issues there. Very small ones. Also, they are sort of Panzer Blitz purists. They stick to Panzer Blitz. I'm more of a Panzer Leader, Arab Israeli Wars guy. To sort of summarize what I did was I was up till about 3 o'clock in the morning last night redesigning all the American and all of the Iraqi miniatures. Miniatures. I'm sorry, counters. Oh, are you moving house over there? Walkabout Games. Yeah, the game is huge. I should say the map is huge. This was sort of a deal with the devil I sort of had to make here. Oops, I think I zoomed out too far. So Panzer Blitz runs on 250 meter hexes. So it's 4 hexes to the kilometer, roughly 7 to the mile, very roughly speaking. And so you're able to get a pretty decent sized battlefield in a pretty small place. The problem with Panzer Blitz is they grossly overestimated. I mean, Panzer Blitz is like my favorite game ever, but it's not perfect. They grossly overestimated the movement rates and they really, really grossly overestimated the ranges. So what's been done is people have started to play with 150 meter hexes. You can't see the map mates. Okay. Damon's letting me know that he can't see the map. Give me 1 second, everybody. Did I forget something else? I never shared my screen. How about that for stupid? Oh my god. A million and one problems. Sorry about that, Damon. Hopefully you should.
That's no worries.
Okay. Are you able to see the map now?
Yep, got it.
Alright, cool. Um, where was I? Uh, the math that drove the sort of basic fundamental stuff over there on Panzer Leader was a little screwed up as far as the ranges and the movement rates. One common fix that some players like to do is just say, okay, we're playing with 150 meter hexes instead of 250 meter hexes. That fixes all of the overscaled ranges and movement rates. It You have to change some of the rules as far as artillery saturation, as far as infantry movement rates, and a few other things. But those are easier fixes than reprinting all your counters. The problem is when, and that works great for World War II, World War One, through most of the Cold War and Arab-Israeli wars. By the time you get into the Gulf War, the movement rates are 45 miles an hour, and the engagement ranges are 3 kilometers plus. That's like your comfortable, range. Most times you're shooting at tanks up to a mile away and hitting on the first time, killing on the first time. The Gulf War, the ranges get absolutely astronomical. We often talk about, or I should say, I often talking about how some of the ranges and movement rates and the 15 millimeter scale in Team Yankee is just absurd. They can't help it. I'm not like bashing on the game or anything. It's just unless you're playing on the point of the story is the ranges and the movement rates in modern 1980s, 1990s warfare, mechanized warfare, are so extreme. They even break a game like this, or at least they threaten to, and that's the reason for just this absolutely gigantic map. I don't like playing on maps this huge, but in order to get the actual M1A1 movement rate, the Apache's movement rate, the range of a Maverick anti-tank, of a Hellfire anti-tank missile, of a TOW, in order to get all of that truly in the right geometries, you need a lot of space. You need a lot of elbow room. And thus we have a map that looks like this. So yeah, every single one of these hexes is 150 meters. Every one of these hexes would be roughly a 5 foot Flames of War table. So you're getting an idea of how big this table is. 150 meters is, roughly 500 feet. 500 feet, 1 to 100 is a 5 foot flames of war table. So, yeah, I mean, there's thousands of flames of war tables here. I don't even want to guess how many bolt action tables. It would be a lot. So, you bought a new house, Chris? That sounds great. The whole idea of buying a house terrifies me. That's one reason I continue to rent. People always say I'm throwing my money away. I'm like, you know what? I sleep better at night. When something goes wrong with the air conditioner, if the water cooler blows up, I can just call somebody. All right, so we're gonna wait a little bit for Rasmus, but not too long. He did tell us to get started without him. So while we're waiting for him to show up, let's take a look at some of the counters that we have worked out here so far for 1991 Panzer Leader. Okay, so one thing that we have changed is to make this game a lot more close to the way the U.S. Army actually organizes its tank forces. We have 3 platoons of M1 Abrams. So anyone who's read the novel Team Yankee will know that an American Army tank company is organized in 3 platoons of 4 tanks each. The Americans have sometime during the Cold War dropped down from the World War II 5 tank platoon down to a 4 tank platoon. So there's 4 tanks in each of these M1 Abrams. The numbers do reflect that. And yes, the numbers are still astronomically huge, as you can tell. I mean, everyone who's played Panzer Leader knows that these uh, counters are absolutely monstrous. A Panther in this game has a 12 attack and a range of 12. A Tiger has a 15 and a range of 12. A Mark II from Poland has an attack range of 2, not 20, and an attack factor of 2, not 56. Um, and that's what Germany, conquered most of Europe with, is with the Mark II and the Mark III. So obviously, and that's 5 tanks in the platoon. This is only 4 tanks, and they're at 56. So we have 3 platoons of 4. What an American tank company will also have is a command element. There'll be a commander, a tank 66, and an XO, a tank 55. XO, I think in British military, is a 2IC or a second in command. Long story short, oh, there we go. Take a shot, everybody. I swear to God, when I say that, I don't even hear myself until it's too late. We have 3 platoons of 4 and 2 tanks in the command element. So 2 tanks in the command element, it's half the attack factor. That was simple enough, and then 2/3 of the defense factor. Because half of the kill process that's sort of wrapped up in Panzer Leader is seeing the target, hitting the target, penetrating the target, at least for tanks. So there's half as many tanks in that platoon, but you still have to see it, you still have to hit it. In order to eliminate that unit, you only have to kill half as many tanks, but you have to do all of the spotting and hitting work, so to speak. So I kind of compromised. And for command elements in this game, the defense factor is 2/3, roughly, of the main defense of the defense factor of the main element. So 2/3 of 32 is roughly 22. That's how that value comes out. 14 is still the range factor, and then it's doubled on roads. We were a little conservative with the M1A1 Abrams. That's roughly comes out to about 42 miles an hour in this game. The published speed of an M1 is 45 miles an hour. I didn't want to give them a 15 movement because, again, the M1A1 has a bigger gun, more armor, and the successive generations of the M1 battle tank have gotten increasingly slow as we continue to pile more and more armor and bigger guns and more electronics into the system. Something that I'm not entirely in agreement with, but believe it or not, the Pentagon doesn't call me before making a decision. Hitting over. Where is G? We got helicopters. That's right, because moving. We'll see what happens. Okay, speaking of infantry, we're not quite to air cav yet, but to getting over to or to mechanized cavalry, we have 3 platoons of American infantry, each one loaded up in a platoon of M2 Bradleys. Now, the weapons class up here gets a little complicated because the Bradley can do so many things. So A is obviously the attack factor, I should say, the weapons class for this 6. This is the 25 millimeter Bushmaster round. So if I can get my webcam going here for just a second, everybody. Hi, everybody. This is a 25 millimeter Bushmaster round. The M2 Bradley fighting vehicle puts out, I don't even remember what the rate of fire is, something like 300 rounds a minute, but I'm not entirely sure on that, of these out at the enemy at pretty high muzzle velocity. There's all kinds of incendiary ammunition, tracer ammunition, armor piercing, cap ammunition. There's all kinds of different ammunition that you can use for it. But that's the size of the shell. It spews these out at a ridiculous rate of speed, and that's what the 6A weapons factor there is on top of the Bradley. There's also that little asterisk or that star next to the A that is that's so-called the Tiger rule. That means that that A-class weapon does not have against soft targets. There's different kinds of ammunition that the Bradley can fire, and it can fire both armor-piercing and high explosive ammunition out of that gun. It never doubles like an H-class weapon, but it just means that yes, it's an A-class weapon. It has all the characteristics of an A-class weapon, but when it's shooting at a soft target, it doesn't have. G is guided missile. It does fire tows, as everyone knows, and the C means that it can carry troops. Obviously, it's carrying some infantry. So, jack of many trades. As opposed to the M3. So, if we compare the M3 to the M2, we'll see some differences here in the values. The attack and defense factors are higher. It has the same armor and it has the same number of vehicles. I'm sorry, it has the same armor and the same weapons. The reason the attack and defense number are different is the M3 cavalry platoon usually has 6 vehicles in it instead of 4 or 5. So that number got cranked up a little bit. It has the same A star, 25 millimeter Bushmaster automatic cannon. It fires tows. It has a plus next to the G instead of a C. And this is because that IFV, the cavalry version of the M2 Bradley fighting vehicle, sometimes called the M3 infantry fighting vehicle, carries, or I should say the M3 cavalry vehicle, I'll have to get rid of that IFV later, carries no troops. It carries just an assload of tows. So G plus means it can fire G class weapons all day. As opposed to those Bradleys, which significantly can fire its G class weapon once, and that's it for the game. It can fire its Bushmaster every turn, but it can only fire that G class weapon once. We have the M901 tow, or IB, improved tow vehicle. People who play Team Yankee are probably familiar with that. This is the tow's defense, or I should say, this is the tow's attack, class, and range factor. 50, G is the weapons class, and 20 is the range. 20 roughly works out to about 4 kilometers in this game. Sorry, that's not true. Roughly 3 kilometers, assuming 150 200 meter hexes. G plus means, of course, it can fire all game. An M557 TOC, Tactical Operations Center, that's basically an American command vehicle. It carries nothing but radios, sensors, communication equipment, things like that, electronic warfare stuff, and some Humvees because why not? Yeah, Tuffy, you're mentioning the Bradley and the Pentagon papers. That's almost an op center episode as far as everything that went right and went wrong with the Bradley's procurement process, design philosophy, the way it forced the U.S. Army to change its doctrine. I won't get into it now. I did do a hobby stream where I was actually painting a Bradley once, and I literally ranted about it while painting for about an hour. That is a long, long, sad story. You know what? I won't even say sad. It's just a long story. Okay, so we've talked about the M1s. Let's get to some helicopters. We have Apaches. These are more or less unchanged from before. 12 is the attack factor. That's only the chain gun that's underneath the chin of the Apache. Has a range of 10. A star, it doesn't have against soft targets. G, it fires 2 G class weapons in this scenario. The Black Hawk pretty much only carries machine guns. 2 IC infantry class weapons. C, it can carry troops. And of course, as we all know, it's carrying a platoon of infantry. Obviously, that's more than one helicopter. That's like 2 or 3 helicopters carrying a platoon of American infantry. The MLRS. or Steel Rain, as the Iraqis call it. This thing is an absolute beast. Um, this thing fires out to, yes, that's 96 hexes. It fires across 96 flames of war tables. That's how long range the weapons are in actual reality. It hits with an attack factor of 20, and when it hits with indirect artillery fire rules. In other words, it affects everything in the hex separately and equally. So if you have 3 units in a hex and you get hit by an MLRS strike, that 20 is getting applied against all 3 units individually. Um, so that's a problem. And it looks like Rasmus has arrived. Hello, Rasmus. While we're waiting him to get his mic set up. Now, the MLRS isn't done yet as far as it's bad news for the Iraqis. That thing can fire 12 times a turn. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me try that over again. It can fire 12 times a game. Out of those 12 times, it can fire up to 4 times a turn. And those four, that's the 20, and then there's four in smaller number next to it. Those four have to be connected, but they can be in any shape. So you can pretty much pick 4 hexes and hit each one with 20 indirect fire points. Or you can put 80 all in one if you want to concentrate. Put time on target on there for your MLRS missions. It is absolutely a monstrous weapon. Only slightly less impressive is a full. This is 3 batteries. This would be a full battalion of M109 Paladins. This is conventional self-propelled artillery. 24 fires out to 72, and it affects everything in the hex equally. It can fire the entire time, but it only attacks with 24 points per turn. And then, just for fun, I haven't had a chance to fully build them out yet, but we do have some Gulf War era Marines in here. So later on, I will be doing the Battle of Khafji with some Marines. Indeed, because the MLRS is a big boom. It is. I mean, everyone's seen the footage. I won't waste everybody's time with describing what this weapon's like. It is an absolute thunderbolt of incredible firepower. It is limited in how often it can do it, and it can't reload. It takes like several hours to reload an MLRS. It almost needs its own vehicle to just to reload more rockets into that huge box that's in the back of the vehicle. But when it starts firing, it can fire all at once, or it can fire sparingly, and it can spread its damage around pretty much however it wants. But it does a tremendous amount of damage. So, Rasmus, are you able to hear me in the web conference software? Or okay, cool. Going over to the Iraqis. The Iraqis used primarily, and I stress the word primarily, 4 kinds of tanks in Gulf One. The usual T-72, the Lion of Babylon, which technically isn't the Lion of Babylon, but um, that doesn't matter. Notice they're only created in platoon, or I should say, companies of 2 counters. Why are there only 2 counters in a platoon? Well, again, a platoon in this game is 4 to 5 vehicles, and a Soviet era or a Soviet organized, Soviet order of battle inspired tank company is 3 platoons of 3 and a command vehicle. So, in summary, a Soviet style tank company has only 10 tanks in it, i.e., 2 counters of 5. So these aren't really platoons so much as they are half companies. So a full battalion is 1, 2, 3 half company, 3 companies, each one of 2 half companies, 6 half companies, 3 full companies, about 30 tanks, plus a BTR-60 command vehicle. I also had plenty of T-62s. Anyone who's played either Oil War or Fate of a Nation or hell, even Arab Israeli Wars knows about the T-62. Type 69. So what is a Type 69? Type 69 is, to make this quick, the Chinese knockoff of the T-55. It's a Chinese version of the T-55 with, I say knockoff, it's actually a little bit improved. It's got a little bit of extra armor on there, and it's got some better sensors. And it's a little bit more accurate with its gun and its ballistic computer and all that stuff like that. This is the reason why you compare it to a vanilla baseline T-55, which the Iraqis also had plenty of. You'll see that its values are a little different. So it has the same movement rate, 10, 10, same chassis, same suspension, same engine. Okay, the range is a lot better. Again, it's got that better ballistic firing computer. The firepower is slightly tweaked, 15 to 16. That's because again the gun is a little bit more accurate. And it's got that little bit of extra bolted on armor. I think they took a big sheet of metal and they basically just riveted it to the glacis plate. There's also some additional plates of armor riveted to the front of the turret, and so on. So the Republican Guard were the divisions that really used the T-72. They also used a few Type 69s. The actual Iraqi army, the regular army, are the guys that were stuck using the T-55s. They're mechanized divisions. Heading over here to the Iraqis' mechanized infantry, we've got three platoons of BMP 1s, each carrying a platoon of Republican Guard infantry. So one, two, three platoons makes a company. One, two, three platoons makes a second company. One, two, three more platoons makes a third company. You smash all that together, and you, with a battalion command vehicle, you have a mechanized Republican Guard rifle battalion there in that first row. Rinse and repeat, except we use BTR 60s and infantry, just regular infantry with slightly less values. This is for the regular Iraqi army. We have some Shilkas. We've played with the Shilkas before. Some Gaz 66s. These are basically technicals with two 23mm Soviet made automatic cannon on the back of a Soviet truck. Basically, it's one of these bolted on the back of a truck, hence they have the same attack and range values. We have empty trucks to carry around the towed anti-aircraft vehicles. SA-13 Strela, Sam, be careful of this. That's one of the most dangerous Iraqi units on the table. That will remove a helicopter or even an A-10 Warthog um, with a reasonable degree of success, especially if there's more than one of them. BRDM-2, this is the same Soviet-style light command vehicle, except it's carrying the AT-5 Spandrel, or the Soviet name I think is the Strela. No, I'm sorry, the Strela is the anti-aircraft vehicle. Sorry. The AT-5 Spandrel anti-tank missile. Oh, word to the wise, those BMP-1s also fire anti-tank missiles, although they're only the AT-3 Saggers. Ask the Israelis in Yom Kippur War how those do. Down here we have one, two, three batteries of D30 120 millimeter towed, 122 millimeter towed howitzers, and D46 130 millimeter towed howitzers. These are the same towed howitzers you see in all the Arab-Israeli wars, Vietnam, and a whole bunch of other. They're the standard Soviet field artillery at the regimental or division level. They gave them away like candy to all their client states. So, um, that's pretty much it for the units that we have to play around with. I do not propose to put all of this on the table. We will be here till Christmas, so I absolutely do not propose that we do that. Um, what are we doing here? Come on. This seems to be helping too much. It's really annoying. All right. Yeah. Again, these are also yeah. There are a lot of infantry here, but again, this is more like the choices rather than a complete menu of stuff we're going to put on the table. You could totally play with all this. You would be here for at least 4 or 5 hours. So again, we ran these games yeah, 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago with some counters. They worked okay. There were a lot of problems. I redesigned them all. This is strictly a playtest round two. So round two playtest, I'm going to give this thing a shot and we're going to see how we do. You had Apaches fly over your town one time, tough years? That must have been cool. I wonder how loud they are. I've actually never, I mean, I've seen Blackhawks, I've seen A-10 Warthogs, I've seen pretty much everything on this table up close in the flesh, including, yes, a lot of the Soviet gear. Believe it or not, the one thing I haven't seen is an Apache. Cuz movie is getting impatient. She says it's time to start blowing stuff up. Okay, Mr. Rasmus and Mr. Damon, what do you guys want to play? Again, I have a basic company of M1 Abrams here. Rasmus, you may have missed that part of it. And then a basic mech company of M2 Bradley fighting vehicles. So I'm picturing like you guys can pick either a company of Abrams or a company of Bradleys if you want to play mechanized infantry. And then on top of that, you guys can pick some of these support packages. And then you guys could see how well you can do against some Republican Guard units that I set up against you.
I don't mind. I'll do a bit of mech infantry.
Alrighty. So Damon is selecting some mechanized infantry. Tell you what, we'll give some cavalry to go with that for some tow support. Give you a command vehicle. All right, and then what kind of support package? Do you want some warthogs? Do you want some Apaches? Some paladins or some MLRSs? You can't have Marines. You're not ready for that kind of power. Uh, I'm kidding. The Marines are
Why can't
actually
I fire Marines at them?
the Marines are actually some because of the equipment that we were still using in '91. They're actually some of the weaker units you'll see. Um, Again, they're just using equipment that's half a generation behind, unfortunately. Instead of Apaches, they were using Cobras. Instead of Abrams, they were using M60s. Instead of Bradleys, they were using M113s. So their infantry is better than armies because there's an extra fire team per squad, and the training is just generally tougher. But you know,
I think, I
overall, I would
think
definitely say the army, especially at this level, the army would be stronger than the Marine Corps. Absolutely. As much as that pains me to
definitely
say.
like the idea of the MLRS.
All right, MLRS. We'll give. You know what? Just to keep things sane. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? Hold on. Whoa, what did I do? And then Rasmus, if you can hear us, and if you have your audio sorted out, did you have any preference on what kind of units you wanted to use? Will I get Damon set up here? I'm hoping that Rasmus doesn't have any audio issues. No, Rasmus, at the time I cannot hear you right now. Let me make sure I don't have you accidentally muted. No, you are not muted on my end. You're not muted on your end. Um, can you give me one more sound test, Rasmus?
Hello.
There we go. Now we can hear you.
Okay, to move the settings around a bit, back and forth, and it worked.
Alrighty, cool. So let me go ahead and set this to. I'll just call it deploy. All right, cool. So far, Damon has chosen to be a mech commander. So I gave him his 3 platoons plus command vehicle of his mechanized infantry. That's U.S. Army rifles. Let's see, to bulk him up a little bit since he won't have any tanks. Let's give him 2 cavalry platoons of M3s. This way he's got tows. Dude, you are Captain Tow, Damon. You got tows all over the place. In fact, just to be, we give him a battalion command vehicle there, or I should say, does he need you know what? Yeah, just give him a command vehicle because he's also going to be calling in MLRSs. And just for fun, a tow, M901 ITV tow vehicle. And he has picked the MLRS. Holy crap! Give him 1 battery or 2 batteries. Let's see. Let's see what Rasmus goes with. All right,
I'll go for the tanks.
there we go.
I'll grab me some Abrams.
Cool. So we have Task Force Damon, Delta One. Or actually, technically, that would be Delta 6. That's your call sign, Delta 6. All right, now we have Task Force Rasmus, Task Force Romeo. Why? Because it's fun. Romeo 6. Okay, so yeah, Rasmus, I'm not sure if you were with us at the time. The American Tank Platoon, or I should say the American Tank Company, is 4 pieces. So if anyone's read Team Yankee, we have 3 platoons of 4 tanks each. That's these 3 pieces. And then this half platoon, which is the CO and the XO. So there's tank 11, 12, 13, 14. That's tanks 1, 2, 3, and 4, first platoon. Tanks 21, 22, 23, 24. Tanks 1, 2, 3, 4, second platoon, and so on. Then you have third platoon. Then you have tank 55, that's your XO. Tank 66, that's your CO. So that's these 2 tanks. You'll notice they're roughly half the values of these.
Yes.
All right, cool. So that's your Abrams Tank Company. And then,
And for some support, I think we need some Apaches.
Apaches. No one's picking the Warthog? Okay, all right. I'm not sure if G is going to. You know what? Let's just have fun. I'll put in 2 MLRSs for Damon, and that gives me all 3 Apaches plus this Kiowa Scout for your Apaches. Oh, you should also have a command vehicle.
I mean, the A10 is fun, but the Apaches seem to have more on the board staying power presence.
Yeah, so the Apache can fire its G-class weapon twice, and then it can fire its 12A star. That's 20 millimeter 3-barrel rotary cannon all day. The Ed 10 Thunderbolt can fire its G-class weapon twice, and then it's got a 30. The problem is it can't use terrain because it's an aircraft. It's way up high. A helicopter can actually hide behind ridges and so on, and the helicopter has a scout. That's what this Kiowa is.
Yeah.
So the OH-58 Kiowa, what he can actually do, he can spot targets, and once he has a target spotted, he talks to the Apaches. The Apaches can fire their Hellfires indirectly. They can fire them from behind cover. So,
Could we use him to call in the MLRS as well, or?
let me think. Normally that would be another Kiowa that would go to him. So he already has cavalry. So I would
Okay.
legal. I should say technically speaking, yes. In list creation wise, no, because that would literally just be okay. This Kiowa, he has.
He's attached.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But if we wanted to build the list that way, I would totally give him another Kiowa, except he doesn't have any helicopters right now, and he's got a crap load of cavalry already for scouts.
Yeah.
All right.
I
So
think he'd be an all-powerful unit. He'd be the hand of God if he could control the MLRS and the Apaches.
Yeah, let's just say that's where all my Strela anti-aircraft missiles would. That's where they would be going. Have no fear on that score. Okay, cool. So it's a pretty small force, but you know what? That's fine. Trust me, the Americans don't need much. Let's get some Republican Guard going here. Oh no! Nice thing about the Iraqis, you just copy paste. Copy paste, copy paste. The Iraqis were pretty good at reverse slope positions. 73 Easting is pretty much just beating an Iraqi Republican Guard reverse slope position. Talquana Division, I think I'm saying that correctly. Alright, so I've got 2 battalions of T-72s. Let's make it a regiment. This is what happens when you don't have to paint your miniatures. You just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. Put him back in the buildings. All right, cool. Let's see what else we got going on here. Just for fun, let's put some army people in here. Poor Iraqis. And one extra. All right.
I like it. Target-rich environment.
Yeah, there's plenty to shoot at. Oh boy. The Iraqis are kind of hamstrung here. What the hell happened? Hold on, guys. Having a bit of a thing here. Group the damned things together, please. Thank you very much. All right. I'm going to delete some of this. I'm just copy pasting it in a way that gets us started a little bit faster. So bear with me. I'm not copy pasting another regiment of Iraqi tanks. One, two, three. We'll put one battalion on that North Ridge. Damn, dude, these maps are so. Oh my God, there's another whole. Maybe I will give myself another regiment. No, two regiments is enough for crying out loud. Let's not get crazy with it here. Where are we at, machine? Come on. We'll brace the southern wing with some more. Don't spread them out too much. Well, the Iraqis were pretty spread out historically, and again, this is a play test just to see how the miniatures go. This, or I keep calling them miniatures, play test just to see how the counters work. We're not. This isn't a game that that me as the Iraqi player is trying to win by any stretch of the imagination. I don't want the stream to be boring. All right, all this stuff is extra, so I'm deleting all this. I don't want the stream to be boring, but I don't anticipate this game to be too big of a deal for the American player. All right, these are those Chinese Type 59s. They're going to be holding the center forward line. So there's basically two lines. There's a line of second-rate tanks and a line of first-rate tanks. The line of second-rate tanks is in the front. We've got one, two, three battalions. Let me make sure there's nothing else extra here. Quick command vehicle for that center battalion. Quick command vehicle for that northern battalion. Okay.
Wait, what?
Oops. Hold on, guys. I'm having a little bit of a go-to meeting thing here. You know what? That's really, really annoying. I had this up literally a minute ago. Oh, the hell with it. Never mind. Thanks again for letting me down. I can never, ever. Yes, show all controls. Where are all my controls, please? Okay. I had another tool that I was trying to use, but of course the um, the software that I was trying to use to run this meeting decided, you know what, you don't get to do that, even though you were doing it 5 minutes ago. Okay, never mind. So, oh man, these poor Iraqis. They're so spread out. They're all over the place. Okay, cool. So yeah, you can see how huge this desert is. You can see how
Oh, yeah.
quickly I've got two whole regiments of Soviet armor on the table. This is two-thirds of a Republican Guard division, and I drop that in this table, and I can barely see the counters. Welcome to the Gulf. Yeah, these deserts were absolutely huge. That's the reason I had to make these counters or this map as big as I did. So that's no worries there. Okay, the Iraqis are set up. Do I want to give any mechanized infantry? You know, I'm going to throw on some mechanized infantry just to,
To try them.
but I'll put them way in the back. And again, like I was saying before, this isn't like an actual like real game. There are no objectives. So if this turns out to take too long, if this turns into like a 3 4 hour stream and it's already like getting late or whatever, by no means are we under any kind of obligation to finish this. Last time I ran 3 turns of this, and I could tell right off the bat what was working and what wasn't. As far as a play test, this is just a play test. So by no means are you guys under any kind of obligation to take on all these Iraqi forces. Notice they are rather poorly deployed in 3 separate bands running roughly northwest to southeast. So you're not going to have to fight them all at once. This was another problem the Iraqis had, was their relative lack of tactical mobility. Their vehicles worked fine enough and they understood the doctrine, but every time they went to move, they got the shit bombed out of them by A-10s, B-52s, Apaches, Cobras, Tornadoes, God knows what else, F-16s, F-15s. So it's almost like the Germans in Normandy, they almost get paralyzed in place. So the Americans are able to kind of pick them apart. So with much rambling out of the way, let me see what's going on here in Mr. Chat. Some love for the Warthogs. Sorry, Mr. LSR, no one picked the Warthogs. I actually kind of appreciate that. I made up the Warthogs last night. I'm like, oh, I better make up some Warthogs. Someone's going to pick the Warthogs. But hey, you know what? Now that these counters are made and these maps are made and all the groundwork is done, if this playtest goes well, which I think it will, we've gone through one playtest round already and it was close. It was 90%. I've rebuilt both armies pretty much from scratch, so now we should be like 99%. And then another playtest would be 99.9%. You'll never be at 100. You keep taking that last 10% and kind of chiseling it down. The point of the story is, I think now we'll be able to run these games with a pretty decent clip. If anyone's ever interested in trying this out, and in a future game, bringing on some Warthogs. Strangely excited to see how this plays out. Oh, Suetonius Paulinus is here. What the hell? What do you mean strangely excited? Suetonius Paulinus, you're a guy who sits down and paints miniatures all day. You're the strange one. I want to see you put this board on an actual 15 millimeter table. Every one of these hexes would be a 15 millimeter table. That is how the math works out. So I don't know what you mean by strange. No, all serious, Andy, super appreciate you coming out. First time, I think first time. First time for one of my streams. You may have been on some of G's streams, but the first one on mine, so I appreciate that. Oh, cool. No fan sound because the fan is kicking. Historically, who won this action? Let's see. Task Force Rasmus and Task Force Damon. Who won against, Buttsteak Oriskany at the Battle of Who Gives a Shit, Pakistan? Dude, we're not. We are the Iraqis, yeah, right? Here you go. I want a sandworm counter. Sandworm counter would be. Hold on. A sandworm is what, 500 meters, they say? So a sandworm would be literally 3 hexes long in this game. There's a good thing. So if you wanted to put an actual Iraqis sandworm on the table, it would be 3 hexes. So take a minute to think about how big those worms were, and he only would use up 3 of these hexes. Would be his length. That's how big this map is. No Harkonnens though, and no carryalls, no Smice harvesters or any of that stuff. Tell you what, though, we're joking around. You could totally use this map for that.
Yep.
Okay, guys. So hopefully now I'm caught up on the chat. Thanks everybody for coming out. Thanks as always for the comments. It's built by Apaches, Warthogs,
And
Sports Pit
yeah, next
Blast.
week I should have a chance of actually seeing an A10.
Awesome. Yeah, I saw some at the recent air show.
Yeah.
Although it was at a distance, but I do have video of it. I should post that video somewhere. Um,
Uh, we got an air show downtown,
awesome.
which will include those. So
You have
weather
to
permitting.
slip the guy at 20 and see if he'll cook off a burst from that 30 millimeter into like an apartment building somewhere or something.
Uh,
It would probably cost more than a
see,
20.
see how much improvement that would cause.
There you go.
It
Ours
is
was
the
a
mistake by the lake after all.
yeah. Well, our air show was Fort Lauderdale out over the water, and so everyone's in the hotels along the beach overlooking the ocean or whatever, and that's where the planes are flying. But out there, past where the planes are flying, they have like this designated corridor that they fly through for the show. Past that, they have this line of boats where everybody that has like stupid amounts of money goes out there in their gigantic yachts or whatever, and this huge convoy caravan of nautical capitalist decadence just lined up this glittering white fleet of just $1 million plus $100 million yachts, and then it's like, man, if I just one burst of 30 millimeter cannon fire down that line of yachts would just do my heart good.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't say that on Twitch, but it would make for a good movie. Let's put it that way. Do it in CG so no one really gets hurt. All right, everyone. We have the Iraqis all set up and awaiting their doom. Let's bring the Americans on the table anywhere along the west end of the map. So most of the big battles in the Gulf War, at least way out here, at Schwarzkopf's left hook, as he called it, actually weren't from south to north. They were usually from east to west. Sorry, they were usually from west to east. So he punches across the border. That's 7th Corps, that's 18th Air Mobile Corps. There's a couple other, I think the French are out there somewhere. They make that big left hook. They pivot over to the east and they try to get behind the Republican Guard before they can retreat out of Kuwait and back into Iraq along the Basra Highway. The main south to north battles are the Marine Corps, the Saudis, the British, um, the the
The guys
Saudi
that were doing too well.
the Saudi Arabians, and they actually attack into like the frontal position, so to speak, of Kuwait. Um, the one exception to what I just said, I think, was the British. I think the British were also kind of in the center. They were between they sort of were connecting those two big wings of the army. The Battle of Norfolk is the biggest example of that. I think there was a big brigade of British tanks involved in that. It's probably the biggest battle of the Gulf War and one of the biggest tank battles in human history. It's like right behind Prokhorovka, Dubno, and some of those other giant battles as far as just sheer number of tanks on the field all at once. Two or three American armored divisions and one British either armored brigade or armored division up against two or three Hammurabi division was there, Medina division was there, Talcahuano division was there. Yeah, about say half the Republican Guard. It was an absolute huge battle out there. Again, that's mostly heading north and then pivoting to the west, or pivoting to the east out of the west. So that's kind of what we're doing here. The Americans can enter from anywhere along the western edge of the board. So who wants to go first?
I could go first. If you
Send the
place my
tanks.
tanks.
Send the tanks in first. So your
Uh,
army suddenly looks so small. Oops, that's me.
if you send my tanks in on 64, 21,
All right.
22, and
Awesome. So,
20.
all right, they have a movement rate of 14. So I'm going to zoom out the map quite a bit so you can see what's going on here. All right, where do you want to go? You're entering in from those three hexes. Then you also have your command vehicle. Or do you want to send your helicopters in first? Oh, before we get started, just so that things don't turn into an absolute slaughter, let me put some. Sorry, guys. Some
AA.
Iraqi air defense on the table. At least
That
a
might
little
be a
bit.
good idea.
Just some. It's not. Oh, man, come on, Excel. Give me a break, huh? I've had a very, very, very tough morning. Put him in the improved position. All right. Yeah, that's enough for now. I might slap some more on it in the second band of defense, but for now, okay, cool. All right, so you're moving your tank on first. They enter in from those hexes. Where do they want to go? They have a movement rate of 14, and that's double on roads. So that's the reason the map is this big. You shoot forever and you move really fast.
Uh, 28 inches or 28 hexes on the road.
There you go. He's
Uh,
doing that without even really breaking a sweat. One, two,
I
three.
actually up until the T cross. I think that's.
One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Whoa, whoa, whoa. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10, 11, 12. He did that 11 and a half. That wasn't even full speed. All right. Are the other platoons coming with him?
The other platoons come with him. Send one up the North Road, one down the Sutton.
You're allowed to have 3 units in a hex. Is the
We'll
stacking.
send the command tank in to the T cross as well.
All right. Cool. Helicopters. You have your Kiowa Scout, and then your 3 pair of each one of those counters is a pair. Your 3 pair of Apaches.
Uh, they'll come in from the same place, and then they'll take up position around.
They have a movement rate of 50. It's basically infinite. The map is technically
Yep.
64 hexes across. You can't. It's not exactly infinite, but it's close.
Uh, about 5 hexes down from the T cross.
One, two, three, four, five, something like this.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And the Q scout just south of the T cross for now.
All right. And then you don't. Damon can move as well, but eventually you are going to want to bring on your command vehicle, your TOC.
Yeah, but that one, I think we'll wait until next turn to bring that one on.
Okay, you got to bring him on. You got to bring him on all your units on the same turn. Now we can let Damon move first and see if he can provide some protection. I know you don't want this guy to get too badly shot up.
Yeah, or else he'll just gun it up the road into the T cross along with everything else.
All right, cool. All right,
That's it.
Mister.
That should give some kind of protection.
There we go. All right, Mister Dylan. Sorry, Damon. What are we doing?
I don't want to get too far away from the tanks, but I think we'll try and clear this. Shall we try and clear this first ridge from
You mean
end to end?
you mean the one that my Apaches are sitting and looking at?
Yeah, the one you had on the reverse slope.
Oh
Are
yeah.
you going to clear that one, or are you going to take on the ones in front of you?
I was thinking of taking on the ones in front of me with the tanks and let the Apaches turn around and take the reverse slope.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a plan. In that case, how much hammering are we going to take driving along the road? We've got clear line of sight along the road, haven't they? So we drive along.
Okay, so we're leading off with one of your mech platoons or with your cavalry
We'll put the
platoons?
we'll put the two cavalry, um, three hexes in on the road.
All right, like so.
Yep,
Okay,
and then two of the infantry on the road behind them.
got it.
They're all loaded, aren't they? Oh, that'd be good to see. Good to see you there. How would that work?
Let me get a pointer here so we can measure lines of sight. I see what you're doing here. Then again, everybody, Damon is something of a Arab-Israeli Wars veteran. All right, so they can, God damn it, they can see your cavalry. Those first two platoons of. Then again, there's also these clowns up here. These two platoons of T-55s can see your cavalry unit, but not your infantry unit behind that. They're blinded by that very last escarpment of their own ridge.
So the rest of
Go ahead.
the infantry will drop in off the road and then head southwest to the base of the hill, southeast even.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, something like this.
Ending up in 6125.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, perfect. I was gonna say don't head out here. Those T-55s
No,
will.
no.
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. All right, and then you've got one more. Oh, did I move one of your command vehicles? Oh no, I guess I gave you 3 cavalry units. Cool.
Uh, so I've got another cavalry, yeah?
Yeah, 3. So a cavalry
Okay,
company. Yeah, because Rasmus took tanks, I gave you 2 companies instead of 1.
mhm. Yeah, okay, we'll put the third cav with the infantry approaching the hill.
You got it, like that.
Yep, yep.
Awesome. All right. Then you have your TOCs, your command vehicle. And those MLRSs.
The MRLRS, do they count as off table?
You know what? At 96 hexes, they can. You know, that way you don't have to bring them on. Let's just not forget that you have them.
Yep.
Company command vehicles. You know what? Never mind. Anybody except an empty truck can carry them in the usual rules. So we have your command vehicle here, your company command vehicle, and then your ITVs, your tows.
The ITV will go with the infantry towards the hill.
All right, they won't fit in that hex, but they can stay right behind it, like say 6224.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So they've still got the cover from the line of sight, and that final HQ vehicle will drop into 6323. Just off the road there.
6323. Got it. Cool. And then your TOC, I'm just going to put at the back of the column.
He might as well go there. Yeah, or he'll drop in with the HQ vehicle.
Got it.
Just to leave a space if Rasmus needs some road space.
Okay. That is the end of movement phase. There's no overruns, there's no cat attacks. That's the end of the American turn. Beginning of Iraqi turn 1. We'll start with. Well, I have no indirect fire because I didn't give myself any artillery. So we will start with the indirect. I'm sorry, with direct fire. So T-55s have a different stack, so to speak, on the weapons effectiveness charts. Um, Whether an A-class will use the first second modifier in the table cell 1968. Use the better values in 1991 and only with T-72s. Okay, that's that rule right there. Iraqis only use the better values in 91 and only with T-72s. That does not include Type 69s and T-55s. So A class is normal up to half. It's the usual Arab Israeli war stuff, Damon. You're super familiar with this part. They get the Israeli, quote unquote, when you double, when you half, etc. Only with T-72s. Americans, of course, get it all the time, along with their absurd range factors. So basically, I am double out to 2, and I am normal up to half, and more than half, I am halved as far as my attack versus my range. That's going to save some lives. So, for people who are watching in the chat, we do have some Iraqis who saw these Americans enter Task Force Damon, and they don't appreciate that. They're going to open fire. T-55s. I have 2 full platoons. 1, 2, 3. Ooh. Oh, because you're further away. I do have line of sight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I am greater than half my range. My range is 12, and you're 7 hexes away. So you stopped just in the nick of time. All right, so I have to cut all my firepower in half. That's 15 and 15. Make 30 divided by 2 is back to 15. 15 versus 8 is, would you believe, 1-to-1 odds? You always round in favor of the defender. This is how weak some of the Iraqis were. 2 platoons of tanks are firing on APCs, and I only have a 1-to-1 odds. Here's the good news. I have more tanks to the north. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. These 2 platoons are also going to fire. Again, they are Type 69, so they don't get that range bonus. They are greater than half range. The range is 16. There are 8 ranges, or they're greater than 8. So theirs is also double. What that's going to give me is a 15 plus a 16 is a total of 31. 31 against 8 is not even 4-to-1. It's only 3-to-1. Do I have anything else I can throw in here? I have nothing else I can throw in here. So they are going to fire at 3-to-1 odds. Turn on Mr. Webcam. Here comes a fire point. A 4, that is 1 cavalry platoon dispersed. That technically would be a victory point. They do give victory points for dispersed American units. A destroyed American unit is 5. A destroyed American tank unit or an APC unit is worth 10. A destroyed aircraft unit is worth 25. Just for dispersing a tank, I get 2. Needless to say, you are going to table the Iraqis, and you damn well better, because you get 1 victory point per destroyed unit. This is about as asymmetrical as it gets. Okay, so that is it for this forward line of Iraqi fire phase. We move back to this part here, and things are going to get a little bit more serious. So, again, play test, so I won't be that guy. But that TOC really should be what I'm shooting at. But just to continue the play test, these guys do not double because I'm not. Oh, I am within 2. These guys are within 2, so they're going to double. 16 and 16 is 64 points. These guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they're normal. 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 164. Uh-oh, I might actually brew up some M1s. 100, that's all those T-72s are going to fire, plus 16 plus 16. Those 16s double. 16 plus 16 because they're close equals a total of 164 divided by 32 is going to give me a 4-to-1. Alright, I think this might be the end of an M1 tank platoon here. Let me see what I can do. Mr. Webcam. A 6! You all saw it on camera. He fucking survived. Rasmus, you are the luckiest bastard. That's dispersed. He's pinned. That's another. That's actually 2 points because that's a tank platoon. Oh my god. A 5 would have killed you. 1 through a 5 kills you. A 6, you survive. Oh my
Yeah.
god. Oh my god. That's alright. Next, these two. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm within half, so I don't double, but I don't have either. So that's going to be a grand total of 32 versus 32. That's 1 to 1. I'm going to take a 1 to 1 poke at this other platoon over here. Let's see what they can do. Another 6, no effect. They straight out missed. Alright, next. 2 platoons of Shilkas. 28 and 28. They're going to take a 2 to 1 shot at some Apaches. So it's 28 and 28 versus 22 is your defense. That's a third 6 in a row. I'm getting new dice. They straight out missed the Apaches. All right, Rasmus, I don't feel sorry for you anymore. Next time I'm going to blow up your TOC on the first shot. And I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. These guys do technically have range. But I've already fired, and you know what? They're going to hold their fire so they can move. Iraqi tanks cannot move and fire in the same turn. American tanks can to a certain extent. So I'm going to hold fire with these guys so I can maneuver them next turn. Or I should say later this turn. All these 2 units have fired. I forgot to fire on these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I am within half. So I don't double, and I don't have. 50 versus 32. I really should have thrown them in on that first pick. Like that would have given me 7 to 1. That would have been kill on that one. Oh well, no worries. 50 against 32. That's only 1 to 1. Come on, pin somebody down, and do not give me another 6. A 2. That is 1 to 1. That was 50 versus 32. That's barely 1 to 1. That is another tank platoon pinned down. All right, so we're trying to pin down these Americans. We're ranking up small amounts of campaign points here, or victory points, so that they can't fire back at me on their turn. Okay, I think that's going to be it for Iraqi fire phase. If the Iraqis seem overpowered, that's cool. We did have an American tank platoon pretty much Leroy Jenkins right into the heart of 1, 2, 3 battalions of Iraqi tanks. So that should have been a hell of a lot worse. There should be 2 whole platoons. Half of that company should be dead right now. The dice were kind of merciful, but no worries. Okay, so any unit that fired cannot move for the Iraqis. The Iraqis aren't going to move units that they did not fire with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. I guess 1, 2, 3, 4. Holy crap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whenever you're moving on elevation, you know what? No. Yes, whenever you're moving on elevation, that counts as triple movement. If you're crossing one of these brown hex sides, that costs another point. That's the Razorback and the Rocky outcropping. That's what slowed down those T-72 so badly. These guys down here did not move. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. two, three, four, five, six, seven. These T-72s aren't the fastest. They're faster than a T-55, but not by much. Leave the infantry back there for now. One, two. They fired. All right, I think that's going to be it for Iraqi movement. Okay. I have nothing to rally, and we now go to. Oops. I kind of screwed up. Deploy and turn one are the same tab, but no worries. So technically, we're not on turn two now. Not turd two. Turn one. All right, let me take a quick look at the chat here. Make sure I'm not missing too much here. Rasmus is allowed. Demon's a little tinny. Okay, I sort of turned it down a little bit. We now know your skill set with some Photoshop magic. Wait, what did I do with Photoshop? Yeah, I made the map in Photoshop. I made the counters in Photoshop. But no worries. All right, so now we begin with turn one. Turn two. So here's how the turn sequence works. Damon's definitely familiar with this, but Rasmus, just in case you never played Panzer Leader before. All right, you call in your indirect fire. I don't think you have any indirect fire, but Damon definitely does. You call in indirect fire, then you resolve your indirect fire that you called in last turn. Then you do your direct fire, you rally units, then American AFVs that are turreted can fire. I'm sorry, that even if they did fire, they can move up to half. The exception to that is anything with a tow missile. When you fire tow missiles, you have to be
Stationary.
you have to be stationary. Helicopters, even though they're not turreted AFE, so to speak, they get to move half their distance after they fire. Then you do the rest of your movement, including close assaults and overruns, and so on. So we are now. Hello, Excel. If you'd like to wake up now, please. All right, cool. So, Damon, do you want to call in an MLRS strike for next turn, or if not, don't worry. Remember, MLRSs, you get to fire 12 of those per turn. You can call in as many as you want, up to 4. And when you call in, anywhere up to 4, you can select the hexes that they hit in as densely or as undense, whatever the word is, as shallow or as dense as you want, but the 4 hexes or whatever have to be connected. They can be connected in any shape. They can all be in 1 hex if you want. Again, you're allowed to do up to 4 a turn, and you have 12 total shots for the game. So you would write down the hex number that you are calling it in on, and they will hit at the beginning of turn 3. You have to have a line of sight on the hex that you are currently calling it in from a non-dispersed unit.
There and let's have a look.
So while he's doing that, chat, when you're calling in indirect fire, you do have to kind of chess your way through the next turn sequence and hit where you think the enemy's going to be next turn. The little bit of a grace that he has with this at the moment is Iraqi tanks cannot fire and move in the same turn. They do not have access to what Panzer Leader calls the split move and fire rule. So if they fire, they don't move, and they're probably going to get hit. But you have to make sure that they have to fire at you. So do you have those? Do you have those hexes called in, Damon, or are you still working on that?
I
Okay.
think I've got the first volley. Second volley is coming down on there.
Now, again, for people in the chat, he obviously does not tell me this. You record it in secret and you reveal it next turn. For all I know, he might not be calling in anything. He may be saving it for later in the game. He does have a limited ammo load on this. Although it's a big ammo load. I don't think he's going to use it all up in the course of the stream.
Right, I think that will do for starters.
Okay, then we go to direct fire. Since we had no indirect fire last turn, you guys were just coming on the board. We go straight to direct fire. So who wants to go first? No unit.
Should we let Damon go first?
Cool. No unit that is pinned can fire. However, they can rally and hopefully move, but that depends on how well they roll. These are Americans in armor, so they get the maximum rating. They rally on a 1 through a 5 as D6, but we'll come to that in a little bit. Okay, so Damon, we are shooting. Who do you want to shoot at first?
Let's see now. So we've got, what was the threat that came at us from the north?
2 platoons of Type 69s. They are hull down and they are in an improved position. I won't tell you what that means. They're on their own little booster ridge up there.
Yep. So what's the range on the Bushmasters? Is it 10?
It's a 10, yep.
You just one out of range, but I'm not going to do much damage with that at that range anyway. Oh, 10, no, you are in, just in. The Bushmaster's not going to do a huge amount, is it, at that range?
They double out to half. They use the American 1991 values, so they use the Israeli curve. They double out to half and they get full out to full. So you will get 6, but again, you have to subtract. You have to add 2 to your die roll for improved position, 1 for Soviet AFV in a hold down position. So it's plus 3 to a D6. If you're interested in taking out those Type 69s, I might consider toes.
Yeah, that's yeah, so 2. I'll put 2 toes into them.
Okay. Is that going to be a tow from your ITV and a tow from your undispersed cavalry vehicle? I only ask because these guys are unlimited.
The cavalry's going to take on the tank they've got line of sight on the hill.
Okay.
The tank that was shooting at them.
Got it.
Nobody else can see those, can they?
No, not right now. No.
So the undispersed.
Yeah, this guy is going to be shooting southeast.
Yeah.
Okay, I only ask because remember these regular Bradleys, once they fire their toes, they're done with toes.
Yep.
That's the G. The G pluses can fire toes the entire game. He can fire all day. He can fire all day. He can fire all day.
So those 2 down there that can fire all day and can't see the close one.
Yeah, they'll fire north.
They can fire. Yeah, they can fire up north. Again, the range of a tow is 20.
Yeah,
it's
they'll
50.
fire north as well.
Okay, so
instead of the infantry, they'll fire north. The infantry will hold on to their toes for now.
All right, so we're firing this guy and this guy north.
Yeah.
That's 100 points. Versus how many are you engaging? 1 or 2?
So what's the defense? It's
14.
14, so 28. So I'm not going to get 4 to 1. I'm going to get 3 to 1.
Yep. It's going to be 7 to 1 on both of them. Well, again, this is where you start getting combined arms. I don't know where you called in those MLRSs. So those MLRSs could come down, or again, it depends on where you called it in at. They could come down and they could be slammed. So that's when you go for pins to pin them in place based on MLRSs that you're calling in next turn. But again, it's just like a
Yeah,
you have to play like almost like three turns at once.
yeah. I'll aim for both of them.
Okay, so that's 100 versus 3 to 1. Add 2 to the die roll. Sorry, add 3 to the die roll. In this game, you want to roll as low as you can.
Right, I'm just waiting for the camera to go live. There we go. A 2.
A 2 becomes a 5. That is toes off the rails and 2 platoons of T-69s dispersed.
Cool.
They are not shooting at you until they rally. They are not moving until they rally. And these are Iraqi regular army. They're not Republican Guard because they're not in T-72s. These guys rally pretty poorly. So their chances of rally are not great.
Yeah. Then the shot south.
Okay, that's this guy here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Again, he's also hull down. He just barely nicks that line. That little okay. And same thing. T-55s, 12 versus 50. You do get 4 to 1 on him. He doesn't have that extra armor bolted on. You do have 4 to 1. 50 versus 12. If you engage just one, again, you have to add 3 to the die roll though.
A 4.
That's 7. 4 becomes a 7. He's dispersed. One of them is dispersed. Well, that's cool. Now you can bum rush him with the rest of your units.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, any more direct fire from your part of the map?
Can we fire the? Can they fire the Bushmaster as well at the same time as a tow?
No, you have to fire one or the other.
No. Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought. I think that's everything I can see to shoot at the moment.
Okay.
It's worth doing it for now, I think. Is there anything you want me to shoot at, Rasmus?
Not that I can see. No, nothing in range.
That's again. We're just like learning the game and practicing. Nobody's played with these counters, so I'm not like getting down on anybody. But these guys are totally in range. Stop playing World War II. You're in 1991 now. All these toes. I'm not saying you should, but just to answer the question,
no.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
no,
7,
I'm holding fire
10,
with
11,
the toes for now.
Yeah, toes can easy range for the toes. No problem. Just to kind of remind everybody how far and how hard these weapons hit.
And if we really need to take them out, if I fluff my attacks on them, we can go back and look at the toes.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay. The small point of legal thing is you're only allowed to direct fire a hex once. So,
okay.
Yeah, if you want to put toes on there now would be the time. And there, you would combine it with Rasmus's fire, but I don't think Rasmus is going to have too much of a trouble with those.
I hope not.
I don't think so. You are point blank for an M1. You're point blank, and he is going to get some hold down shield. Let me zoom in here. He will get no hold down shielding. So hold down shielding is defined by that brown hex line that's between hexes. So he's on high ground. That's one thing. But again, where all your non-pinned units are going to be shooting, they do not cross a brown hex line. So he does not get the bonus of that Soviet AFV and hold down shielding. He does not get that +1. You'll notice he's not in an IP. Again, people in the chat might not be familiar. Rasmus, I'm not sure if you ever played Panzer Leader before. IP, improved position. It's basically a firing range for the tank. These guys are naked out there in the breeze. And I'm pretty sure these guys are deader than fried fucking chicken. We're going to find out in a second here. Even with your reduced firepower. Because these M1s do not play. 8 of your 14 M1s are pinned, but the other 6 are going to fire, and that's going to be pretty hideous.
And they all got to fire into those two.
Okay, so again, can't fire because he's pinned at the moment. Can't fire because he's pinned at the moment. We'll get to them in just a second. But we have your XO and your CO Rasmus 66, Rasmus 55 is going to fire 28, and he's going to fire. This is like your first platoon. He's going to fire. So 6 M1A1s are going to fire. These are more powerful even than the ones in Team Yankee. The ones in Team Yankee have 105s. These have the 120s. 28 plus 56. Oh, you're within half range. That means you double. 168 points. They're firing from four 15 millimeter tables away. 168 divided by, if you're engaging both platoons, divided by 28. That is just barely 6 to 1 odds. Damn, there's anything you can throw in there? I wouldn't propose you wasting any of these hellfires on them.
Um,
Okay, so you're on
the company commander.
that did include the company commander. That was 28 and
Yeah,
56.
well, the command vehicle.
The command vehicle is not able to help because he only has 2 points, and it's an I-class weapon.
Okay.
I-class weapons can only engage armored targets. This is a change from World War II rules. Can only engage armored targets at 2 hexes. A 50 cal
Okay.
can put a hole in a tank, very very close. Again, only with 2. It might shoot
Yes.
a wheel off or something or break a track, you know. But you're at 6 to 1, which basically becomes 4 to 1. However, the good news is the enemy has no modifiers. You just roll a straight d6 and do not roll a 6.
2.
2. There were 2 platoons of Type 69s destroyed. That is first straight out Iraqi kills. That's what happens when you mess with American tank. So the trade-off there is, for people in the chat, yes, we did have a Leroy Jenkins moment. He barreled into this road. He should have gotten the absolute teeth kicked in because he basically not blundered, but he charged straight into 3 Iraqi tank battalions. He charged into the middle of a reinforced Iraqi regiment at optimum firing range with them all on high ground and him on the low ground. He should have lost half of his company there. By the grace of God, he didn't. I rolled those 6s on camera. Now he gets to reap the benefits. He's in behind some of the Iraqi positions. He's not shooting across those brown hex sides, and he's not shooting into improved positions. So now we get the fun part of the game, whereas this is the, he already paid the price for being behind the enemy. Now he's getting the benefits of being behind the enemy. So that's 2 platoons of Iraqi tanks on fire. They are deader than shit. Deader than Abraham Lincoln. Okay, other direct fire. We still have 3 sections of Apaches if they want to shoot at somebody. They get to fire their Hellfires twice in a game. Or they can fire their 12 chain guns all day. The 12A chain guns. They have unlimited ammo on that. They are aircraft, so hold down shielding never counts for them. So even though you would be shooting across brown hex sides here. You're high enough where you're shooting down over his hold down shielding. If you want to engage
What's my chances of if I use just one Apache on one of the AA tanks?
Oh Lord, with guns or with missiles?
With guns for starters.
Okay, with guns, it is going to be 12 versus 6. They are not in an improved position. Piotr, sorry you left. You know what? I should have said hi to Piotr. Sorry, everybody. Toes for the win. Don't worry about C-Hex rules on this board. That's right. Yeah, Andrew. Andy, if you're still with us, we finally do have some burning Iraqi tanks on the table. Okay, so that 12... 1, 2, 3, 4... Oh, wow. Okay, interesting question. The 12A is armor piercing. He does double against armored targets up to half of his range. His range is 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's barely within 10. So this guy would double. These guys would not. This guy with 12 becomes 24 against 6. He could engage one of them at 4 to 1 odds. 1 to 5 is a kill. He can engage 2 of them at 2 to 1 odds, which means he's probably not going to kill anybody, but he'll probably pin down both of them. Or you could throw in more either chain guns or missiles. It's up to you.
I will try to engage both of them with him and just his gun.
Okay, so just one whatchamacallit,
One
just
Apache.
one Apache. The lead Apache pair is going to fire only chain guns. That's 2 to 1 odds, 24 versus 12. Okay, roll a d6 and try not to roll a 6.
I won.
Oh, one! He killed them both! Or, yeah, no shit. Holy fuck. Uh, so if we go to the chart, the reason I'm yelling and cursing here is on a 1, 2 to 1 odds, that's a kill. Again,
Ooh.
he's not in an improved position, and he is not, what's the word? He's not in an improved position, and his hold down shielding does not count because he's an aircraft.
And see, since I am doubling against that, that would be
That was
2.
24 versus 12. You said you want to engage both of
Yep.
them. That's both
Yes,
shield toast.
I'm just looking at the next one. The top one of them. See now I'm getting gung ho.
Yeah.
The I will go both of them. Just guns into the 2 tanks.
Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They both double, so that's 48 versus. Now he is in an improved position. You don't have to pay for the hold down shielding, but that IP still counts. So you will be adding 2 to your die roll, but not 3. So it's 24 versus 28. You sure you want to engage both of them?
Oh,
Oh, sorry, 48. 48 versus 28. It's still only 1 to 1. So you take the total
okay.
attack, you divide by the total defense, and you always round in favor of the defender. It's 1 to
Oh,
1.
I will just engage one then.
Cool. So that is 48 versus 14. That is going to be 3 to 1. You have to add 2 to the
That's
die
3.
roll.
3.
A 3 becomes a 5. That is 1 dispersed. All right.
And I
Now
think
to
that's it
to
for.
close out your fire phase is the guys who were pinned. Their attack is to attempt to rally. Americans get there are 4 levels of morale in the game: A, B, C, and D. The Americans are A. They're armored vehicles, so they get the best rating out of that A. Basically, that means that they have to roll a 1 through a 5 to rally. So roll 2d6, one for each platoon.
1 and a 5.
Okay, yeah, no big surprise there. Americans do not stay pinned for long. Dismounted infantry or other kind of things with an A class go to a 4, but there's not going to be too much more to that. Infantry are not less brave than tankers. It's just that an infantry platoon is spread out when it gets pinned down. The sergeant and the lieutenant have a much harder time pulling the unit together. When a tank gets pinned down, everyone's pretty much in the tank, and the tank commander can pretty much kick somebody in the back of the head and get them back in line.
Slap the back of her head.
There you go. Infantry get the armored vehicle bonus if they're in a town or in an IP, but again, that's mostly to do with proximity of the men within the platoon. Again, everything in here is a platoon, or a battery, or a half company, something like that. So we're looking at a pretty big battle here. Okay, so that takes care of direct fire. Any unit that did not fire missiles can now move up to half their speed. Any unit that did not fire at all can move up to full speed. The helicopters can fire half speed because they fired guns. But again, half their speed is 25, so, I mean, come on. Helicopters are nothing if not fast. So who wants, Damon, you want to move your units around now that we're in the movement phase? Oh, Damon, I apologize. Damon, see if you can rally that 1 cavalry troop of IFVs.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Whoops. Yeah, 6.
Oh, they stay spinned. All right. That's, yeah, just be careful of this guy. This guy might decide to pick him off. And again,
That's what I'm worried about.
one American tank, one American kill in this game is bad news. Bad news. Number of M1 Abrams destroyed by enemy combat in Gulf War I is a big fat 0. That's slightly negotiable. There were some units that caught fire. They towed it back to the repair point. They said, fuck it, it's not even worth it. So technically they're a loss. But as far as straight out battlefield kills, there were none. The reason I mention that is, again, the historical victory conditions are always based on the historical event. You lose one platoon of Abrams, you're dead.
You done
You've
worse.
lost. Yeah. So those 2 6s I rolled earlier, Rasmus. Yeah,
Yeah.
Lady Luck. Next time you see her, you better have a box of chocolate and a bouquet of roses, because you should have lost the game on turn one. But those 2 6s mean that those 2 tank platoons survived. I mean, it's cool. You were just like super aggressive. And again, we're only play testing and kind of teaching the game. This is more of a demo game than anything. But that was gutsy. That was a gutsy move, and you largely got away with it. For now, you're about to be swarmed by a whole freaking mass of Iraqi tanks. We'll see what happens in the coming turns. But cool. So that is 4. Technically, believe it or not, guys, right now, as of this moment, the Iraqis are winning this game 4-5. I have 5 either dispersed units. Right? 1, 2, 3. Why do I have 5? Oh, because tanks count for 2 points. That's right. Versus 4 Iraqi kills. Right now the score is 4-5 Iraqis. So thanks everyone for coming out to the stream. I'm going to go ahead and end the game right now while the Iraqis are still winning. Thanks very much. Support us on Patreon. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So back to movement phase. Damon, where do you want to move your infantry to? The only guys that can't move are the guys who fire toes.
So they can't. They can't. They can't. So the infantry will surely charge down.
You want me to zoom in a little bit?
I'm all right at the moment. I'm just thinking.
Okay.
The infantry by the ridge.
Yep.
They're going to debus and head into 6025.
Excuse me, I've let you get away with, you and Andrew, I've let you get away with your debusing for long enough. We're now playing an American, you see this big American flag right here? It's unload or dismount. I'm just kidding. Every time you guys say
dismount.
Every time you got, technically they're cavalry, so they would technically dismount. But every time you guys say debus, I always like, what the hell are you talking about? A bus? All right, so bring to front. All right, infantry jumps out of the vehicle. All right, the Bradley can still move up to half. The Bradley itself.
Yep. Now this stuff down south can see the Brad if it moves further south, can't it?
Yeah, that's the thing. There is another. Oh man, I gave the Iraqis a lot of crap.
Oh no, there's a ridge line that blocks the line of sight if they come along, if they move south. That's useful.
Yeah, the Iraqis are surprisingly blind this direction by their own ridge.
That's the problem with the reverse ridge deployments.
Yep.
So the Brad might as well follow the infantry into that hex.
All right, the infantry unloaded. He unloads in this hex. Is the Bradley going to move forward the hex, or?
Can the infantry move forward as well?
No.
Or do they have to stay where they are when they unload?
Unloading was his movement.
Oh, right. In that case, can they stay loaded until the Brad's moved onto the hill?
Yes.
Then jump out.
Yep. As long as he used more than half his movement. So that's, his movement is, he did not fire, so he gets his full movement. His movement is 14. That costs him 4. I'm sorry, that costs him 3. Is he going to unload there, or does he want to keep moving? He's actually he's actually invisible there to this Iraqi tank platoon that's still unpinned. There, he's visible, and that he does have hold down shielding, but you're close enough to where that T-55 will double.
Yeah, that's gonna hit him in the face, isn't it?
300
we'll go
meters.
to the one further down.
All right, there we go.
And stay.
And then he unloads.
Stay blind.
Okay, cool. Then he unloads. All right, so he's blocked from this position by this brown hex line here. He's blocked from this position by this brown hex line here. Yeah, he's pretty safe. He's pretty cozy. Um, these guys can technically see him. Actually, no, they can't. Plus, they're pinned. Yeah, for he's safe. He's in a tiny little corner of safe, even on this
Yep.
battlefield. Which there aren't too many there aren't too many safe hexes on this battlefield.
No, no.
Okay, this guy's still pinned. How about this cavalry unit? This cavalry unit did not fire anything, I don't think.
No, he fired. He fired
That's
at
right.
T-55.
That's right. That's right. He can move half. He can't move because he fired toes. He's stuck there. Okay.
Yep.
These units all here did not move.
Yep. The two infantry. They charge down the road. That T-55 is going to shoot them in the flank. At 1, 2, 3, 4 hexes, so he's going to be within half range, isn't he? So
it doesn't really
so
matter for
he'll be able to
T-50.
do some harm to a Bradley at that range.
At greater
The
than
unpinned one here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Once he passes this, he's down to half. He becomes 8 versus your 8 versus your 6. That's only 1 to 1. He can't kill you, but he can disperse you.
Right. Yeah, we'll charge down the road then. We'll risk it.
All right. One. Well, technically, there's 2 people on that road here, so you don't get the road rate for that hex. 1, 2, 3. Tell me when to stop. 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, we'll stop there when we're as far away from the 55s as we can get. What's up north?
1, 2, 3. Believe it or not, I do not have opportunity fire because you did not move a quarter of your movement rate. Again, these vehicles are so fast. Up north, there is nothing yet. You've got a whole mess of T-72s, but these Abrams are going to have to be dealing with most of them. And you have some more T-55s and Type 69s further up north. But they're not. Oh, shit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ooh, you are barely not in range. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, dude.
Yeah, we'll stay there.
Yeah. You are in danger from these guys to the south, but.
Yeah.
Then we have your company commander and your battalion commander.
They'll stay where they are for now. They're out of reach for anybody at the moment, aren't they?
For nobody that is not pinned, yes.
Yeah, they'll stay where they are for now. They'll probably move next turn.
Cool. All right. And we go over here now to Mr. Rasmus. Rasmus, all of your guys can move half. Yeah, all of your guys can move half.
If I want to go up behind the 2 burning tanks.
Yep.
How many movement is that from?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which is less than half of your 14, so that's legal.
And then he's in a cover from the.
He's hull down. These guys can see each other, but you do get bonuses.
Hull down, yeah.
Yep, you get bonuses. And Americans get a bigger bonus for hull down than Soviets do, because of the way the guns depress. Non-Soviet AFVs get a +2. Soviet AFVs get a +1.
And the half company, the company
Yep.
or the commander.
Yep.
If he moves up that way, how far can he get?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, he can't quite make it that far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can pretty much get the same hex.
And it's three on a hex.
3 is allowed in a hex. Yep. And rec counters count as not that you're moving into a rec counter hex, but rec counters count as stacking points. That's why you put rec counters on the map.
So if he takes the full platoon he had with him up there as well.
Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. to go up that slope. That's not a bad position. You're screened. You're blind to the north, but also screened to the north. You can see to the south and the east, but again, you have hold down shielding.
And the command vehicle into 47 and 21. Oh, yeah, that'll work as well.
Yep. Yeah, he didn't fire at all. He has his full movement rate. He has 10, so he gets there no problem. This last tank platoon.
That one will put into 45-21.
No problem. He's on high ground, but he's on the very edge of that hill. He has no escarpments, so he has no hold down shielding.
Yes.
But yep, cool. He's there. All
And
right.
the Kiowa will swing up in to the hex north of the main body of tanks.
Right, something like that.
Yeah, that'll work as well.
Oh, I get exactly north. No problem. Cool.
And
So what the Kiowa allows you to do, again, the Kiowa allows you to anything the Kiowa can see, and the Kiowa can right now see almost all these T-72s. It allows you to
the
fire
Apaches can
your Apaches
shoot at.
indirectly. Yeah. Then you just have to
Yeah.
worry about the range. For a Hellfire, Hellfires are even better than TOWs. Hellfires have a 60 G20. So 20 is their range, and they can hit indirectly if the Kiowa has them spotted. Now, the T-72s can shoot at a helicopter, but they have to be within 4 hexes. And they don't get the full, obviously they don't get their full attack. Basically, it's the roof machine gun. So word to the wise, if those T-72s get too close to your Kiowa.
Yes.
All those T-72s do have a douche on the roof. So, yeah, word to the wise.
Yeah, but if they get that close, they should be dealing with some tanks instead.
Oh, yeah.
The Kiowa isn't the main threat around there.
All right.
And I think the Apaches will just let's see. We'll
There is a
move
threat coming out of the south.
Is there any AA down there?
Nope. You took care of most of the AA. There's one more SA-13. Where did I put that stupid thing? I think I put him up north somewhere. Oh, there he is. He's moving. What the hell did I move him for? Oh well, I was in a rush. I'll have to remove him again next turn. He'll be firing missiles somewhat shortly. Here's a quick question: what altitude are these Apaches going? So altitude is pretty simple. There's high and low. High altitude means you see everything and everything sees you. Terrain does not matter. Low altitude means that terrain usually matters. So right now that Strela cannot see you if you're at low altitude because this ridge is in the way.
Well, we'll keep them at low then.
Okay, he's at low. All 3 of them, I'm assuming. I
Yes.
put them at the bottom of the hex there to kind of signify that. Okay. And the Kiowa, is he at high or low altitude?
We'll keep him at low as well.
Okay. Got it. Everyone's in low altitude. So yeah, right now that Strela can't see anything. Then again, none of your helicopters can see the Strela either. Line of sight is usually a 2-way street.
Yeah. And one of the back Apaches will fall back a bit.
A Dusk, because movie a Dusk, that is slang for DSHK. It's a Soviet World War II era 50 caliber machine gun. All right, so one of these Apaches is moving back a little bit somewhere.
Yeah, so he's within 5 of the 2 tanks.
So like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Exactly there.
Cool. Staying at low altitude.
Staying at low altitude.
That's so I got him kind of at the bottom of the hex there.
It's just to put a bit of pressure on those guys if they decide that they want to tackle with the infantry.
So there's high altitude and low altitude is kind of how we It's an easy way to track that.
So
All right. So
and
is that it for
yeah,
movement, everyone? Let me zoom out a little bit.
thanks. That's it for movement. Yeah.
Epic. We now go to the Iraqi turn. Iraqis are going to open fire with many guns because I have one, two, three. I have an entire battalion, three companies, Company 1, Company 2, Company 3 of T 72s with line of sight on these Americans here that were kind enough to move up on that ridge. I say kind enough, but not really, because number one, he is hull down. That's bad news, and he's a little too far away for my optimum range. He's great for your optimum range. You're within half of yours, but you're not within half of mine, I don't think. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Oh, you are. Barely.
I was 18 on those. Oh,
12,
even though.
yeah, 16 is the range. So one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Barely within half. Cool. So, they only double out to four, though. One, two, three, four. So I don't double, but I'm within half, so I don't get cut in half either. So it's a grand total of it's 150. Six times 25 is 150. It's not the best. But again, I'm too far away. I'm at perfect range for an M1. I'm at not quite perfect range for a T72. This is why I rage all the time at miniature games in the modern era. You could never do this on a 15 millimeter table realistically, unless you're again every one of these hexes is 5 feet at a 15 millimeter table. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. This is 40 feet at 15 millimeter.
And it's not 14 feet of an interesting table.
Yeah, and yeah, it's literally just sand.
Yep.
So when I keep saying this, not to attack other games, but quite the opposite. To kind of make the point of when I say that, oh, that game can't do this realistically, this game can't do that realistically, it's not the game's fault. It's literally when you play with miniatures, especially in a WYSIWYG or a true line of sight system, you are limiting yourself in a lot of ways. It's the medium's fault. It's not the game's fault. But anyway, I have a total of 30 T-72s that are just going to open the fuck fire, and we're going to see what happens. I am at, what's my odds here? I have 150. I'm going to engage one American T. I might go for that commander. I'm going to go for that commander. I want to kill one damn tank platoon. Divided by 22. I don't think that gives me 7 to 1. Divided by 22. Nope. Oh, Iraqis. We could never leave you. You amuse us. Okay, in that case, I'll just go for a regular tank platoon then. 32. I'm still at the 4 to 1. If I'm on the 4 to 1 table anyway, the table goes straight from 4 to 1 to 7 to 1. Is the reason for that. So if I'm going to go for 4 to 1 anyway, I might as well try to pin a major American tank platoon. Now I have to add 2 to the result. I might kill him. The odds are about 50-50. So we will see what happens here. I might kill him. We shall see. Come on, Big Daddy. Not with a 4. A 4, I have to add 2 for his hull down shielding. That became a 6 on 4 to 1. That is another American tank platoon dispersed. That is 2 more Iraqi victory points. And that was all that 30 T-72s could do at that range.
That's a lot of.
Well, that's another hurdle that games like, games like Team Yankee have. If you're going to get the real difference between M1s and T-72s on the tabletop, and you're actually going to put that in a miniature game, no one's ever going to want to play a Soviet army. Because you have to buy like 30 T-72s. The Americans are going to buy 5 M1s. You're spending hundreds of dollars on, tanks that get blown up, really easy. Um, that's why games, if you want to do it in miniature, games like GHQ Micro Armor that do it in 6 mil are easier because, okay, like 30 T-72s at 6 mil will cost you $10. No big deal. You can paint them in an afternoon. All right, so I think that's going to be it for most Iraqi fire. Oh, wait, no, it's not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I am at more than half range.
Damn, he remembered.
Now I. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. These are also in range. Boom, boom. Although they're at extreme range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, Damon, I'm not sure how much you remember that Valley of Tears battle. The reason these T-55s got a huge bump in their range, again, Arab-Israeli Wars uses 250 meter hexes. We're now in 100 or 200, I'm sorry, 150 or 200 meter hexes. So pretty much all the ranges got increased by about a fifth to a quarter. I'm sorry, between a third and a half. So that's the reason their range went from 8 to 12. These aren't magical Iraqis. They're just playing on smaller hexes. So I have a grand total of 60. However, everything gets divided in half because these are really terrible guns. They do not get any of the other bonuses that the T-72s get. So we are looking at a grand total of 15. No, 30. So 60 divided by 2 is 30. 30 versus, oh no, they're still loaded too. All right, time to destroy an American.
I know.
Time to destroy some American tanks. Sorry, Damon. Here it comes. Oh, bounced out of the box. That is a 3. That is a wrecked American APC. He was still carrying infantry. That is an American infantry platoon also destroyed. That is 10 more points to the Iraqi player. And that is a wreck counter because that AFV count, or I'm sorry, that APC counts as an American armored vehicle. Oops.
Yeah, I might have pulled you into being too gung ho.
Nah.
Yeah, if you were playing this, quote, historically like the Americans come in with tanks first. They absolutely entangle all these forward Iraqi positions. Abrams versus T-55s is almost a sad joke, even at relatively close range. And then while that's happening, the Bradleys kind of sneak on. The Kiowas go out, the cavalry goes out, and they just start calling in Apaches. They just start calling in Hellfires, and they calling in those MLRSs. The trick is for Gulf War games to kill half the Iraqi army before they even see you. With the support assets that you have, and if you guys remember what the footage was like back in '91, you can kill half the Iraqis before you technically even enter the table. And again, in order to give the table room for that is why I had to make this board so obscenely large.
Excuse me.
That said, I did deploy that first line pretty far forward, but it was a weak line. But yeah, you can't just roll past Iraqis like that. They will hit and kill you, especially if you're only in APCs. There were quite a few American Bradleys killed in combat. Quite a few in Gulf War One. I think up to like 20. So we're still on the historical track. All right, I think that is finally it for Iraqi gunfire. I'm not going to try and rally some Iraqi units. These army units are morale D. Yes, that's true. Morale D because they're Iraqi armor. They're not Republican Guard. A tank rallies on a D on a 1 or a 2. So these two Type 59 platoons, one rallies, one does not. This platoon is going to try and rally. A 6, he does not rally. The Type 69 back there in 3927 does not rally. And that's going to be it for the rally phase. Now we do movement phase. Nothing that the Iraqis fired or rallied can move. So now I'm just going to move everything else. We're just going to keep piling tanks on here until the Americans get the hint. Leave us alone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He can do that. They're stacking up, Rasmus, like flies on a window pane. 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Target rich environment.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. He can't quite do it. So he's still kind of struggling up the reverse of that slope. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He'll do that. Although now he has no hold down shielding. That's okay. I fucking wall of T-72s. Where are these? Where are those MLRSs, man? um, and they all fired, so they're not doing anything. They fired or failed to rally. Actually, he didn't fire anything. The one guy that was not rallied. Uh, 8 against 8 is 1 to 1. Subtract 1 from the die roll for being dispersed. A 4 becomes a 3. It's just a normal dispersal. He was already dispersed, no additional effect. That was Type 69s that weren't dispersed, firing out of its improved position on that dispersed group of a cavalry troop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, go back. Do that over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Get close. These T-55s have to be close. Good God, how much did I give them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I think that wraps me up for me. That's just a command vehicle. Get up in the improved position. Do what commanders do best. He's hiding. I should say Iraqi commanders. These guys are standing fast until they get orders. They're pretty much just there to make sure no Americans get off the board free. Not that that's really an objective, but in a real game, quote unquote, that would be an objective. Get off the table. Get that commander back under some vision. He's okay. He's fine. Alright. That's going to be it for Iraqi turn 2. We now begin with the American turn 3.
Let's kill some T's.
The first thing we got to do is Damon calls in his next turn's MLRS before we resolve this turn's MLRS. So I will zoom out, Damon, so you can see what's going on. It's getting pretty chaotic. The Iraqis have you in a pincer. And Mr. Rasmus is about to get surrounded.
We'll just fight our way out. That's fine.
Oh, we have some new people in the chat. So, Damon, take your time on those MLRS coordinates. I will see what's going on in the chat. Does anyone have sound? Where's Storm and Norman? Storm and Norman is like, you want to know what Storm and Norman is? Rasmus is Storm and Norman. He Leroy Jenkins right up into that crossroads, into the midst of a Iraqi regiment. And for now, he got away with it, but we'll see what happens. So Rasmus is, everyone can hear Rasmus. Everyone can hear me, hopefully, SitRep podcast. No one can hear Damon right now because I don't think Damon's speaking right now. Damon's trying to call in some MLRS missions. Damon right now has himself muted. Damon, you're muted if you're trying to talk to us. You can't. We can't hear you. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I was just
no worries.
Just messing about. So I just turned the microphone off just while I was muttering to myself.
Cool. I just want to make sure that we didn't lose connection. If you're still calling in your MLRSs, take your time because they're important, especially now. Cool. Thanks for joining us, SitRep podcast. Yeah, the Americans have gotten themselves in a little bit of trouble here. The first couple of turns, this is sort of the Achilles heel of team games. I've noticed in Dark Star and Panzer Leader and some other games where I played with teams, is sometimes the two or three people on the team aren't doing the same thing, and
Yep.
the guy who's playing the whole force by himself, win, lose, or draw, even if he has a bad idea, at least he has one idea. So I'm sort of setting up a blocking position on that northern ridge with a whole freaking. I'm up to almost a regiment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have not quite a regiment. I have two entire battalions of T-72s on that northern ridge. That is a risky ridge up there, man. Holy dog shit. Look at that. 60 T-72s are staring right down on 15 American M1 Abrams.
Jim, can I see stuff? Can I shoot at stuff that Rasmus can see with the artillery?
Yes.
Or have I... Right.
For two reasons. Number one, in a formal Panzer Blitz game, this is all one big team. The Panzer Blitz isn't normally a team game. It's two players, one Iraqi, one American. And whatever you can spot, you can call in your support assets on number one. That's in World War II. In 1991 was the first battlefield use of this little thing we like to call today the internet. And it was literally an information age army versus an industrial age army. Everybody can see what everybody else can see. So if there was ever a time when that rule made sense, that they apply in World War II, it hella applies here, at least for the Americans. That was my long way of saying yes. Not just yes, but hell yes.
To make a long story short.
No, take a shot.
Great. Okay, I've plotted artillery.
Okay, MLRSs. Okay, G, you arrived just in time for some MLRSs to land.
The bad news is I've got to cancel one fire mission because it's coming down on a hill that's already been cleared.
Uh-oh. So we got a lot of firepower coming in. Okay, so let me get some artillery counter. Because you can plot, I don't know how much you called in, but you can call in up to 8 fire missions from those MLRSs.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Just done one each.
Okay, so okay, cool, no worries. This is the first time that we're using these, so again, these do work kind of weird. So, all right, where was your first one?
The first one was on what's Rasmus Ridge now. I'll cancel that one.
Oh, you canceled the MLRSs that landed right here?
Yeah.
Cool.
Because I targeted, because you can do 4 hexes, can't you?
You can do 4 attacks, or you can do 4 hexes. Yeah. You can put all 4 of them in one hex, or you can put them in 4 different hexes, or whatever. Yeah. But you would actually call in those 4 hexes. All right. So where was your second one?
It was from 3927. I can't actually remember where that was.
3927. Boom. That lands here. Okay. So That was one of your MLRSs that's hitting that because the other one canceled. He did not fire. He still has all 12 of his missions. Remember, ammunition for these is limited. So the way you would normally call this in is say, okay, I want to call in a fire mission. I can call up to 4 fire missions per MLRS battery per turn. I have a total of 12
Right.
per battery for the game. So you'd say, okay, I want to target 2927, or 3927. I'm sorry, this one right here. No worries. Now, do you want to put all 4 in there? Do you want to put 3 of them in there? Do you want to put? You can throw in
So
4,
what's the attack factor?
they are 20H.
So that's 20 against each target, isn't it?
20 against every target in there. They are technically H, so they do half against armor targets.
Against armor,
So
yeah.
it's really 10.
And they're defense 14, aren't they?
Yep. And they're in an improved position.
So I'm going to need to put at least 3 in to get 3 to 1.
You have to put at least 4 of them in there. Actually, no.
All 4.
All 4 only gets you 40. And that's,
Yeah. It's not, that's still 3 to 1, isn't it?
yeah. But one of them's dispersed, so you might kill him.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do all 4 into that one hex then.
Okay. I'll just put a 4 there to show that one of them has used up 4. Okay, so that's 3 to 1. Roll 3 to 1 on the undispersed guy.
A 5.
Okay, a 5 becomes a 7 because he is in an improved position. I don't think that did anything. Nope.
And against the
Dispersed guy, this guy only adds 1 because he subtracts 1 because he's dispersed.
A 4.
A 4 becomes a 5 that is dispersed. He was already dispersed. That was called. You almost killed him. I wonder if those are powerful enough. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Give me 2 seconds. New Panzer leader. No, wrong folder. Sorry. A lot of these counters are based off Toshash miniatures, and they're TCME, Tactical Combat Middle East. I'm opening up the PDF now. Yes, I know. Oh, shit. I take that back. You may target no more than 4 individual hexes in a turn. However, you may attack each hex with as many rockets as he wishes to, up to the number he has available. I take that back. You are not limited to 4. I misread that. You can splash it across 4 hexes, but you can hit each hex with as much as you want. So in a single turn, a player may attack 4 individual hexes, each with only 1, or he can attack each with 2 or more. The player could attack only 1 hex with all 12 of his rockets. That's if you want. Now, before we get into that, so that's, okay. Each of these counters by 3 MLS rockets. Each rocket can... Alright, let me find his chart. Check one more thing. Yeah, that sounded a little underpowered. But that's why, because you're allowed to put more than 4 into a single hex if you want. I just want to make sure that he still considers H classes divided in half against armored targets. Where is your weapons effectiveness chart, bro? H versus armored targets is always 0.5, 0.5, non-armored vehicles. Yeah, it is 0.5. Okay. Indirect fire. Half, half. Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure. All right, so the takeaway is you almost thought I was going to say it, didn't you? You already had your hand on the shot glass, didn't you? The takeaway is that's more shot glasses she's going to have made up. Take a shot. Is you can put in more. So yeah, never mind those rolls. If you want to put in more than four in there, how many do you want to put in there? Now, normally you would have to declare this ahead of time, but no worries. How many do you want to put in there? Do you want to stay with four, or do you want to put in more than four?
I've got up to 12, haven't I?
12 per battery, and only one of them hit because the other one you canceled. So you can put in 12, but then that's it for that battery for the game.
Oh, I see. Right. Um,
5 gets you to 3 to 1. 50 divided by 14 equals 42. Yeah, so we are already rolling on the wrong column. As it was. 6 gets you. Does 6 get you to 4 to 1? 6 does 6 get you to 4? Yeah, 6 gets you to 4 to 1. Because 14 times 4 is 56, right? Yeah, so if you want to invest 6, it gets you to 4 to 1. If you want to try that.
yeah, we'll go for that.
Okay, roll for the undispersed guy. You have to add 2 to the die roll because he is in an improved position.
That's a 3.
A 3 becomes a 5. He's killed. Roll for the other guy. I think. Hold on. Before you even roll. Yeah, you do have to add 1 to the die roll. Just don't roll a 6 for the dispersed guy.
Okay, so I'll roll a 6.
Oh no, he's still dispersed. So that becomes a 7. He is still dispersed. The guy that was in good order is destroyed.
Oh, that's half effective.
Yeah, we're still learning this game. MLRSs, I'm just now kind of figuring out, aren't that effective against tanks. And that's the vast majority of what's on the table.
Were they supposed to drop mines as well?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
You can deploy mines, you can drop smoke, you can drop DCI. That's pretty much what you just did. Dual purpose improved conventional munitions. It's basically, it opens up into like not a billion, but the canister opens up into thousands, if not tens of thousands, of hand grenade sized explosives. And they just absolutely smother a football field, roughly a hex, with ridiculous amounts of shrapnel. They eat infantry for breakfast. That's why. But against tanks, maybe not so much. Okay, so that's indirect fire phase. Now we go to direct fire phase. Damon, do we want to start with you again?
Yes. I'm thinking that I'm swinging in the breeze here. I need to pull back into cover because I'm going to get stomped on otherwise.
Yeah, those T-72s from the southeast are looking pretty nasty. I mean, you've got helicopter support down there, but it depends on how much.
Yeah, they're not going to stop them all.
Yeah, they're
Only
almost.
Need one of them to kill that Bradley.
Yeah, that Bradley needs to get somewhere. The problem is, as he retreats, he's going to get hit again. But if you fire first and then move, you might be able to give him some cover.
The scout platoon will fire at the T-55 on the hill that we started
Scout platoon. Against. This guy here?
Firing southeast, yeah.
Okay. Is he going to fire at the dispersed guy or the undispersed guy?
The undispersed guy. I need to try and neutralise him.
It's 4-1. Add 3 to the die roll.
Yuck.
Yeah, that's the bad part.
4.
4 becomes a 7. He's dispersed. Hey, he's not killing anybody.
That'll do.
Okay, go ahead with whoever's next. I'm just fiddling around with the counters.
We'll put 2 missiles in from the ITV and what's the other vehicle there?
The other scout.
The other scout.
Yep.
Yeah. They'll fire northeast at the guy sitting on the end of the hill.
Okay, that's 2 4-1s, and that's no bonuses because he's not in hull down and he's not in an improved position.
Yep. So that's a 2 and a 3.
Ba-boom, ba-boom. 2 more burning Iraqi tanks.
Okay, so the guy swinging in the breeze on the road.
Yep. He's in a position where it's like, which way do I run?
Yeah.
You know what? I would run back. If he runs forward,
Oh,
he
yeah.
has to get close to these T-72s, and he has no
Yeah.
hull down shielding back here on the back end of this slope.
Nope. And there's the stuff up north as well. Can mince him. So we will shoot at.
Is he going to shoot or is he going to run?
If I shoot, I can move them. I can't move. If I fire a guided missile, I can't move, can I? So
If you fire the missile,
anyway.
you can't fire. Yeah. Oh yeah. If you want to fire the gun, go for it.
There's no point firing it at T-62. I'll fire it at one of the T-55s up north.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You get your full attack. It's only 6 against 12. It's 1 to 2.
That's not worth the effort, is it?
You don't. Well, you might disperse them. On a 1 or a 2, you disperse them.
Okay. Just thinking, how much movement do I need to get out of the way? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Still see him from there. Actually, no, he's going to move and run to cover rather than fire.
All right. Any other fire from your side?
There's nothing else can fire, is there?
This guy fired. These 2 fired. He fired. This guy has a tow missile. If he fires his one and only tow missile, or tow salvo, that's your company commander. And yeah, I think that's it. I was trying to keep this one a small game. This guy can't see anything yet. Believe it or not. That infantry unit hasn't moved yet. He can probably cat attack those tanks if he wants.
Yeah, that was the plan. Yeah. Now they're both dispersed. I can fix bayonets.
Here you go.
Okay. So they'll finish off the movement. Shall I fire at those?
5826. Where is 5826? 5826. Yeah, he already Sit Rep podcast. He's already fired at the tanks at 5826. That's why they're at an angle. They're dispersed. They're pinned down. No more units have line of sight on them at the moment. He could fire.
You can only fire at them once.
Well, he fired at the one that was previously undispersed. If he wanted to, he could fire his guns. Oof. If he wanted to, he could fire his gun at the dispersed tank, because that dispersed tank has not yet been subjected to direct fire. That would be legal. It would be 6 against 12. It really wouldn't be worth it, because he's in an improved position. You have to add 2 to your die roll. Subtract 1 from the die roll. You'd have to add 1. Yeah, it would literally not really be worth it. He fired a
Yeah, he's
toe in
just
there.
gonna.
Now, to answer your question, Sitrep Podcast, he could totally fire a toe in there and blow that T-55 sky high. The problem is, in this game, if a Bradley fires toes, the Bradley platoon is not moving, and Damon desperately wants to move that platoon. That's why he's not firing. So we hear what you're saying. It's a good move, but the reason he's not doing it is he wants to move. The reason he wants to move is this Bradley is in what is about to become a very bad part of town. There is a full battalion of T-72s closing from the southeast, another battalion of tanks closing from the northwest. He's already lost one tank platoon or one Bradley platoon back here. He wants to get the hell out of there with a quickness. And if you fire toes, you have to stay put and guide that toe into its target. But that's actually a good question. That's why he's not doing it.
Yeah, so they're going to run west on the road.
Okay, now here's the good news. You have to spend a full quarter of your movement in my line of sight before I'm eligible for opportunity fire, and your movement is 14. These Bradleys are fast. So a quarter of 14 basically becomes 4, and you're on the road. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now not many people can see you and or reach you.
Mm.
So he may have gotten away with that.
And then he'll go south.
Okay.
And end up in the hex behind the dismounted unit.
Like so?
Yep.
Perfect.
One further north.
Got it.
That's it, yep.
Alrighty, now we go over to just to wrap up Damon's part of the turn here, super fast. Is this Bradley going to actually? All right, sorry, we're getting mixed up here. Roll me a d6 to try and rally this cavalry troop up here that got pinned down earlier.
3.
This time he rallies. He saw those 2 T-55 platoons blow up there on the southern lip of that ridge. He got motivated. Hell yeah! Blow some shit up! Alright. Over to Fireface. Rasmus, it's up to you, man. You've got... I don't know if you want to forget about these guys for now, or what. But these guys to the south, I don't know, it depends on what your Apaches can do.
Yeah, so let's start with the Apaches.
Okay. So, the rule on the Apaches or one of the rules on the now you'll be fine, but just hear me out. Any G-class weapon has a minimum range of 2 hexes. So some of these units are just barely not close enough. But even if they were, these guys could fire this way, these guys could fire that way. Yeah, you'd be able to handle it. But just word to the wise going forward, G-class weapons cannot fire point blank. The weapons do need some time to get out of the tubes and acquire a target.
And the big question is, you probably should use the missiles now.
On something, yeah, because there's a lot of problems coming in from multiple angles. And again, those Apaches get 2 missile strikes a turn. They have 4 hard points, each carrying 4 Hellfires, so they get 2 game salvos. So these will not be your last Hellfires out of those Apaches.
Yep. So let's see, the 2 that are next to each other will combine into the middle one.
Okay, so we got a grand total of 100 points against 36. That's not even... sorry. They're 60 points apiece. Thank you. I made that correction. That was one of a few things that we... That's 120 points. Divided by 36, 2 18s. It's still only 3 to 1. Do you want to put some more missiles in there from your third group of Apaches? I assume you're trying to kill outright, or you're trying to pin.
Kill outright. So yeah, let's fire the last one in there as well.
Okay, so that is 180 divided by 36. Whoa, 180 divided by 180, dude, divided by 36. Yeah, you're at easy 5 to 1 odds. Okay, roll a d6.
And don't drop it on the floor. I won.
Cool. That is two T-72 platoons blown sky high. Cool. And they have another whole big whack with that again after that. Plus, they have plenty of chain gun
Thirty
ammunition as well.
millimeter.
Yep. Up to your tanks. Okay. Now remember, Americans get the split move and fire rule. So what they can do if they want is they can fire against the T-72s and then duck
And
behind the
then pull
ridge,
back.
or they fire south against these T-72s, which do not have hold down shielding, and then duck behind the ridge so these guys don't get to shoot, or any combination they're in. The T-72s here on the valley floor are a little more vulnerable than these guys. These guys are all hull down, and some of them are in improved positions.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I think I agree with SitRep Podcast. The T-72s on your left wing might be on your right wing might be a little bit more of a threat.
yeah.
There's fewer of them, but look where they are.
Yeah.
This, don't get me wrong, this is a threat. This is two battalions of T-72s,
Uh,
but
but I can hide from them hopefully.
yeah, you might be able to get away with one more turn. As far as them being an immediate problem.
So
So you've
so
got
let's see.
56. You've got two platoons of 56 plus a command element of 28. Two platoons plus your XO and CO.
Yeah. We will plant all of that into the double one.
Okay. So you are within 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You are within half range, so all your stuff doubles. So one platoon is worth 112. Divided by 36, that's 3 to 1.
So
So hold on,
one and a half.
112. There you go, 100 exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Plus, what did I say? 28 plus 28. No, dude. 112 plus 28 plus 28. It was 168 divided by 36. That gets you to 4 to 1.
Okay,
That is one
yeah.
full platoon, your commander and your XO.
They'll fire into that one,
Okay,
and then the other one will go straight down the front one of those.
gotcha.
So first shot, A2.
Two. That is two more T-72 platoons brewed up. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay, and then you have one full platoon that's 112
Against 18.
against 18. Oh my lord. That is 7 to 1. You don't even need dice. Even a 6 will kill him.
Well, good thing.
Oh, you got a 6 anyway. Yeah. If you're ever going to
Yeah.
roll a 6, now's the time. A 6 still kills him. And that, my friends, is how you destroy an entire battalion of T-72s, more or less instantly.
And a rally.
Yes, because we're at the end of your fire phase. Yeah, rally on a 1 through a 5.
That's all.
Cool, he rallies. All right, now we do your split move and fire. All of your units can move half, except for your Kiowa and your TOC, which can move full. And yes, Apaches are the exception to the rule that when you fire missiles, you can't move because they're obviously helicopters. They move around a lot.
They don't really like hanging still.
Right.
Let's see what's coming down from the top up there.
Let me zoom out a little bit so you can see the whole map. That's one thing about these gigantic battlefields is you have to zoom out a lot. I mean, as big as this looks, we're really only playing on like 1/3 of the map here.
Yep. If I pull straight back, then what do we have coming down from the hill where
These
Damon
guys?
were killing things?
There's not. I
Yeah.
mean, they're Type 69s and T-55s. They are a
So
threat, but they're not a huge threat.
they're not a huge threat to my armor. So if my armor pulls uh,
I mean,
four or five,
Damon's having a tough time with them, but he's in Bradley's. You're in
yeah.
Abrams. Yeah,
If I pull 3, 4 hexes back in that direction with
that was
most of the stuff,
exactly the right answer. 3 or 4 hexes do not get within 2. At 2, even those tanks double, so they start to get dangerous at less than 500 meters or 300 meters. So yeah, 2
so
hexes. Be careful.
I am about 3 hexes back with everything. So into 49, 20 ish with the tanks.
Okay, how about this guy? This one platoon here. Like just south of that or
Actually, 44, 20.
4420. Why can't I find
Just
44?
below the command vehicle.
Got it. Oh, that's 4820. I got it. All right.
Okay.
Uh, SIDREP podcast. Are there more Allied reserves? No, there are not. Um, this battle didn't start terribly well. Uh, then again, I also kind of maybe stacked too much Iraqi stuff on here. We were trying to keep this game somewhat small. Again, this is just a play test. I don't even think we're going to get through the entire game. We're only wrapping up turn 3 at the moment, so I
And
don't.
the Kira will stick around where it is.
Okay, and it's keeping an eye on things. Cool.
Exactly.
So they did blow up some Shokas. They did blow up a lot of tanks. Just for fun, what is the current score? Current score for the Iraqis right now is 10 plus 7 is 17. The Americans have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Check that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The score right now is 11 to 17, Iraqi victory for the moment. Because one entire troop of armored cavalry did get taken out with the platoon of men still inside. So there's at least 10 or 12 KIAs on this table for the Americans right now. Okay, so that's going to wrap up the American turn. I will make the Iraqi turn super fast.
What about my cat attack?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we never did your movement phase. Sorry. All right, so yeah, we skipped your whole movement phase, Damon. Sorry about that. All right, so vehicles move first. Fired missiles rallied. So the rallied guy can move half if he wants. These guys fired missiles. These guys can move. These guys can move. Yeah, wherever you want.
They moved they were on the road.
That's right. These guys already moved. So
Yeah.
let's do this organized. Does the rallied guy want to go anywhere?
Yeah, he's going to go south and
Okay.
join up with the other infantry that have just run down there.
Got it. That's 2 stacking points because the infantry is still loaded. He
Yep.
is kind of stuck where he is at the moment. Command vehicle
Yep.
and TOC anywhere?
Yeah, they're going to go south as well because those guys on the hill are going to start shooting at them, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll go south, but staying out of line of sight for whatever's down on the bottom end of that ridge.
All right. And fired. This Bradley, who understood last turn, this turn he can move actually full because he has yet to fire. Or is he comfortable where he is?
Can he move in? It's a minimum of 2 for toes, isn't it?
You can, yeah, the minimum range is 12. I'm sorry, is 2. You can't fire adjacent toes.
I'll put him in 5927.
Got it.
And then if the cat attack fails, at least I'll have something that can shoot at those guys next turn.
All right, in goes the cat attack. All right, so we have Now, let me get this right, because he handles counterattacks differently than he handles counterattacks in the true Arab Israeli War model, which is they're actually a little bit more deadly, like, especially against tanks. Um, yes, close assaulting tanks, page 6. Any close assault by infantry or leg unit against a tank is always considered a flank attack, even if only coming in through one of their adjacent hex sides. Alright, next. What? For God's sake, man. Dude, you're about to get on my nerves. Close assault, I class only. Triples. May use only in adjacent hexes only. Okay. -2 to die roll. Is that the flank attack that he's talking about? Because he has rules for a flanking attack. The -2 to die roll. Okay. So, cat attacks against tanks in this game are absurdly powerful. That 8, it doesn't double, it triples. It's Egyptian 1973 infantry style. 1973. So this is obviously after 1973, and these Americans are definitely more heavily equipped than Egyptian infantry. So long story short, there you go, take a shot. 24 divided by 24, 1 to 1, subtract 1 from the die roll, because you have to cat attack the entire hex. Okay, there's a lot. Okay, let me turn on the webcam here. There's a lot of modifiers here. Okay, so that 8 triples to 24 by the rules. Okay, all American, pretty much any infantry. If you're attacking tanks, cat attacks against other non-tank units like infantry turns into a nasty little firefight. We'll get to that later. So it triples to 24. Word to the wise, that's only against tanks. That does definitely apply here. So it's 24, 8 times 3 is 24, versus exactly 24, 2 12s, the T-55s. You have to add 2 to your dice roll because of the improved position. You're not shooting across that hex side, so his hold down shielding does not count. So that's 2 for the improved position. You subtract 2 from the die roll because because it's considered a flank attack. Cat attacks against tanks are considered flank attacks. You get a -2 per his weapons effectiveness chart. And then -1 because he's dispersed. So it's a net -1 on the 1-to-1 table. And again, a double D will kill him because he's already dispersed. So now's the time to get lucky, Damon. Roll 1d6 as low as you possibly can.
A 3.
A 3 becomes a 2 because of those all aforementioned modifiers. A 2 on the 1-to-1 table is double dispersal. You barely did it. You need to roll a 1, 2, or a 3, and you rolled a 3. Those guys went in there and they blew up those 2 platoons of T-55s the old-fashioned way. They just totally pulled a Captain Miller on those guys.
Excellent. Amazing what you can do with a 45.
Boom! They're strapping claymores to the tracks. Here you go, Saddam. Have a suck on that. Alright. That was pretty awesome. Okay, I'm pretty sure that wraps up the turn. So now we begin Iraqi turn 3. Iraqi turn 3 says, ooh, I didn't like that. That wasn't nice at all. Fire. These guys ironically now have no real line of fire because he pulled back off that ridge. Yeah, he has no line of fire. So this whole battalion, 2 battalions are going to move. 3rd battalion of that regiment is mostly in flames. This guy's like, oh my god, I'm all by myself now. Alrighty. Who else is going to fire?
Yeah, I'm sorry if you put all of the artillery up on that bridge. But I didn't think it was healthy to stick around.
No, don't blame you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, really? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Barely. 12. Not in range. Yes, in range. So, yes, 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 no. For range on those Abrams back there. Okay, so that is going to be 15 and 15. Divide that by 2 because I'm at extreme range. Becomes just a total of 15. It's 25. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I'm past 4, so I don't double. 1, 2. Iraqi T-72s double out to 4. After that, they get full firepower the whole range. They have better ammunition than the T-55s and the Type 69s. The Type 69s are basically using big versions of World War II guns. They only double to 2. They're using classic Panzer leader rules. They only double to 2. They get full power out to half, and after half range, they go to half firepower. So these two 15s become 115. That 25 stays at 25. Total of 40 points versus 32, 1 to 1 versus a tank platoon. I have to roll a 1, 2, or a 3 to disperse. That's a 1. That's another dispersal. Iraqi score is now 18. No, that's a dispersed tank. Iraqi score is now 19. And that is a dispersed American tank platoon. And that is pretty much.
And I think it's the same platoon that keep getting dispersed.
Yeah, those tanks are gonna have to get a new paint job when they get back because they're all over the place. These guys could not move or could not fire. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is probably a dumb move. In fact, I know it's a dumb move, so I won't do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. Try to rally this clown. He rallies on a 1 or a 2. A 2, he does rally. That's his attack. What do we have down here? Try to rally this clown. 1 or a 2. A 3, he fails to rally. The other guy is going to launch his attack. That is 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have to cut down to 8 because I'm just outside of half range. So it's 1 to 1 against that Bradley platoon. That is a 5. That is no dispersed. He fired and missed against that cavalry troop. I'm going to try and take out those ITVs. I am sick of those friggin' ITVs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, I have to cut that in half, so that is 15 against 4. That is 3 to 1 odds. That is 2 T-55 platoons firing at the ITV section, improved tow vehicle. It's an M113, so his defense is only a 4. So it's my 30 divided by 2 becomes 15 versus 4. That's 3 to 1 odds, plus webcam, equals 5, dispersed only. He's not a tank, so he counts only 1 point. Iraqi score is now 20. Only a 1 or 2 would kill him. But, yeah, Iraqi guns, it's not that they're not powerful, it's that they don't reach versus American guns. If there was ever a single problem here, quote unquote, it's that the Iraqis are too close. It's like fighting the Germans, Germans versus Russians on the Eastern Front. Nothing wrong with Russian guns, except they just don't shoot very far. If you get within 500 meters, the Germans are always in trouble, because that's when Russian numbers count. Same here with the Iraqis. 1, 2, 3. I can't go in that hex because there's already 2 wrecks in there. Shit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He has hull down shielding against all this stuff here. Cool. All right, these guys. One, two, three, four, because he's on rough ground and he's crossing that brown hex line there. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. I am on the valley floor. I am somewhat vulnerable to being overrun, but I don't think he's going to do it. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. He can't. Eight, nine, 10. I'm not going to do that. If I pop my head over that hex line, he's going to blow my head off. So he's going to hit the brakes a little bit.
Would I get an opportunity fire if you did that?
Uh, Technically, yes. Because it cost me 3 movement points to do that, and 3 movement points is exactly a quarter of 12. So actually, yes, that's a good question. You would get -1 or +1 to your die roll for hold down position with a Soviet AFE, but you would definitely be within double attack factor range. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. I'm going to split this stack up here. One there and one there. Oh, oh, death. Peekaboo.
Oops.
Peekaboo. Strela fires Sam SA-13 Gopher. Surface to air missiles off the rails. 30 points versus 22. 1-to-1 odds. This is what Rasmus did right, because the way to do this is to put my 30 Strelas, my 30 points of Sam's, plus 28 in Shilka 1, 28 in Shilka 2, 86 divided by 22. That's probably, well, that's not quite, but that's damn close to a Apache shoot down. And that's an aircraft. That's 25 points. That's pretty much game. The problem is those Shilkas are on fire. These are those Shilkas down here. They're burning nicely. Some nice marshmallow action going on down there. So only 30 points are coming in against 22. My attack goes from 3-to-1 to 1-to-1. So the Iraqis only get dangerous when they really can gang up on you. So if you can chip away at them and pick them apart a piece at a time and never let them really get that one big smack at you, like word to the wise, that's when they get dangerous, is when they horde up on you. They're almost like orcs in 40k. If they get close in big numbers, you're in trouble. If you can split them up, or if you can engage them at a distance, or some combination thereof, you're okay. Case in point, I now roll 1, 2, or a 3 even to pin down that helicopter. A 6, the Strela misses, so no effect on that. That's going to wrap up the Iraqi turn, because I don't think anyone else wants to move. Yep, this battlefield's getting small, which is good news for the Iraqis. Bad news for the Americans. That's it for turn 3. All right, so before we get too much further, how much longer do you guys want to go? A normal game runs about 10 turns. I'm not proposing we do 10 turns. But you want to do one or more turn, or 2 more turns, or do you guys want to call it now?
Oh, one more turn won't hurt.
Cool.
Yeah, just to see if I can get myself out of trouble.
Yeah, the second you made that very first movement phase, I was like, this is going to be a fun stream.
Yep. The one thing I didn't have foremost in my mind were I get the movement, I don't get the shooting.
Yeah, as you were making that move, I was like, you know what? I just remembered Rasmus has never played Panzer Leader before. Or Arab Israeli Wars or any of the other related games. Damon's played it a couple times. Yeah, Leroy Jenkins in your way right into the middle of the board like that. You're getting away with it, but it's
But
it's
I'm
very
hammering
risky.
points while doing it.
Very risky. And again, the only reason you even have a tank company left is, again, I've rolled those first couple of 6s. I'm
Yep.
glad I had a webcam on, because if I didn't, people who watch this later on YouTube would have been like, "Oh, he's just saying 6 to keep the stream going." No, those were legit rolls. So anyway, okay, over to the Americans on turn 4. Damon, are you comfortable with calling the game at the end of turn 4? I mean,
yeah,
okay.
that's fine.
So the reason I ask you now is then don't worry about calling in artillery for next turn.
Okay.
Where do you want to call in? Where did your stuff land on this turn?
Right. So I couldn't read the numbers, so I basically just called it by terrain feature.
No
So
worries. Yeah, whatever works.
the hill on the north side.
Yep.
Where I killed 2 vehicles on the end.
Yep.
That's where the first volley's landing.
Epic. Okay. And which I should say, first of all, that was 6 of those guns fired. Okay. Which hex precisely? And then you can spread it out. You can hit with as many as you want, up to 12, and you can spread it out across up to 4 hexes. 4 connected hexes.
So starting with the one with 2 tanks in on the southern end.
Right there.
Yep.
Okay. So did you have?
We'll roll it north.
Okay.
Along the ridge line.
Just curious, did you have these hexes kind of called out ahead of time, or?
Yeah, I've got North Hill, bottom 4 hexes of ridge in a vertical line.
Okay, cool. So something like that.
So it actually starts there, yeah.
Okay, no worries.
That's it.
All right. How many of your 12 do you want to put into each one? Well, you would have had to kind of call that in ahead of time. Did you put like 3 in each one, or?
Yeah, that's fair to say it was 3 in each one.
Okay, cool. So these 3 land here, no worries. These 3 land here. That is going to be 30 versus 12. That's 2 2-to-1s. Hold down shielding.
They have 18 rockets altogether, 6 from one of them and 12 from the other.
Well, I don't know where you called it.
This is just one, the first volley.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've designated two targets.
So, okay, so we got 2 2-to-1s, because again, it's 30 versus 12. That's technically 2-to-1. Hold down shielding does not count because the rockets are coming down from above. So just 2 2-to-1s.
3 and 4.
2 dispersals. And that's not nothing. Remember, these Iraqis are morale D. So one thing that might be useful is to pin down a shitload of Iraqis on the first couple turns. It doesn't put rec counters on the board, but then you can literally pick them apart at your leisure. That's a big tactic that you use against the Syrians in 73. You pin down everybody. And then on turn 2, 3, and 4, then you start killing people because they don't rally very quickly. All right, this one misses. And then, oh my God, the battalion command vehicle. Oh no! The battalion command vehicle. That's actually big news because, okay, we're talking about another 30 points versus 3. That's 10-to-1. The table stops at 1-to-1. I'm sorry, at 7-to-1. He's killed automatically. Don't even need a dice roll. And that's the battalion commander. Everybody in that battalion now drops a morale level. So they went from a D to an E. And thanks to Brian Train, when he invented Desert Leader in 2000, there is such a thing as morale E. Damon knows this rule. Morale E means you never rally. So nothing that was in that battalion is ever going to rally. So that was the T-55s. The Type 69s. Let me go back to the beginning of the game here. The Type 69s. Oh no, that was the Type 69s. Never mind. That was the Type 69 battalion. Okay, so no Type 69 is ever going to rally for the rest of the game because he's now morale E. So this Type 69, you might as well forget about him. He's literally never going to rally. He's never going to move. He basically abandoned the tank. Someone just has to walk up to the tank and blow it up. Because he's not.
Or show them a gun and say you're now a prisoner.
Yeah. Either way, someone has to go there and sort him out. Okay, so how about your other one? Was your other one on the Iraqi Ridge that's now vacated?
Well, there's a command vehicle over there.
Damon, where was your other big artillery battery coming in? Yep, did Damon turn off his sound again? Damon, come back to us.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, no worries.
I'll just keep having to turn my fan on in here because I'm boiling. So.
Okay.
Well, I've got the fan on. I turned the microphone off.
If they're not hearing my fan, they're definitely not hearing your fan. So I never hear your fan, so don't worry about it. All right, where was your other big MLRS strike coming in at?
It was 4 hexes across the top of that ridge.
Okay.
So the end
So,
one will catch the command vehicle.
Cool. Call a 7-1.
It was
7-1 on him. You do have to add 2 to the die roll for improved positions.
God, it's a 6.
A 6 becomes an 8. Yeah, he did survive that. And that was the command. That was the command vehicle for all these T-72s. That would have been nice. That would have been nice. Let me triple check that. A modified 8 on 7-1 is technically a dispersal. You rolled the natural 6.
Yep.
All right. Sorry. Okay, that is pretty much MLRS is now empty, and cool. Now we go to direct fire phase. So do we want to finish cleaning up some T-55s? Damon, how do we want to do your direct fire phase?
The Cav platoon will. Oh, no, there's still 3. There's still 3 active T-55s up there. Let's tidy up that. We'll use the 2. We've got 3 Cav vehicles, haven't we? All that can all send tows north.
Yep. And since we're calling the game here, you might as well fire all the tows out of your Bradleys anyway, too.
Yep.
Okay.
So we'll just do a huge volley of as many tows as we can.
1,
north.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times 50 is 300. 300 divided by, what is that, 12, 12, and 12, 12, and 14 if we split it up a little bit. We're doing this kind of shorthand. 300 divided by, I'm trying to attack all non-dispersed tanks. 24,
that's fair enough.
24 plus 14 is 38. 300 divided by 38 is 7-1 odds. All right, you have to add 1 to that roll, but I think even a 7 kills them automatically. Toes for the win. This is what Suetonius Paulinus was saying earlier. 7 does not kill, so don't roll a 6. And then this
thanks.
guy, I'm sorry. You definitely want to roll a 6 on this roll. All right, so roll a 7-1 on these 2 here.
2.
Boom, that becomes a 3. He is toast. Both of them are toast. Roll another 7-1 here, but here you have to add 3 to the roll because he does have an improved position.
Okie dokie.
Oh, that didn't sound good.
I need a new dice.
You need a new dice. Did you roll another 6?
Yeah.
A 6, even if you add 3, becomes a 9. The table stops at 8. He's still dispersed. And by the way, that's a Type 69, and his battalion commander's blown up. So guess what? He's done for the game.
That's tolerable.
Alrighty, that was pretty much. Ooh, I think I gypped you on a toe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, we got them all. Okay, cool. All right. And I think that's it. It's just Bradley. Well, we'll get some movement when we get some movement. Okay, Mr. Rasmus, what are we doing?
Yeah, let's say the Q can see all of that
The Kiowa
big
sees
wall of
all that shit. In fact, the Kiowa should spot and then get the hell out of there before he gets machine gun out of the sky. But he can call in fire missions for the rest of the Hellfires off of those Apaches to the south.
Yep. So I was thinking 6 Hellfires into 44-19.
Alrighty. So that is a total of 3 elements of Apaches that becomes 60 plus 60 plus 60. 180 divided by, there's three 18s in there, right? That is 54.
Yeah.
That is 3 to 1 odds. That'll definitely pin them down, possibly kill them, because they get no bonuses.
Yes.
All right. Do you want to roll them separately, or you want to roll them all at once?
I can roll 3 separate ones.
Okay. Cool.
2 ones and a 5.
Okay, that's 2 kills and a dispersed.
That broke the wall a little.
Oh yeah, put a hole in it. Okay, and now those Apaches are drawing on Hellfires.
Yes.
But again, they have cannons, and they've already destroyed pretty much an entire battalion down here, the bulk of a battalion down here. Plus, they took a big swing out of this. They wiped out one company and pinned down half of another company. They definitely caused a lot of problems. Piotr is back with us. Mr. Piotr, hello, sir. How you doing? We're about ready to
Hello,
wrap.
guys.
Hey, how you doing? All right, so we're about to
Okay.
wrap up here because we just did a play test. But yeah, we've had a hell of a battle here. Okay. Meanwhile, to wrap up, what other direct fire are you going to do? You still have your usual 2.5 tank platoons, Mr. Rasmus. I'm not sure
Yeah.
how much you can see, but you can see some stuff to the south and also behind you. You can't see any of those T-72s yet. Gianna, by the way, if you're still with us on the stream, I hope you saw that. That was a Kiowa calling in indirect Hellfire missions. This is what Gianna was kind of calling me out on the last playtest. So we heard you. I designed the counters. I looked up the rule, and Rasmus just did it live here on Twitch. We are trying to do this the right way.
Let's see. The one by itself
Yep.
will shoot at the one lone tank down there. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, you gotta love that RH-120. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You are within half range. It's
Ryan
not the
Mittal
range.
for the win.
It's not the range that kills you. It's the half range that kills you. So that is 112 against 18. Yeah. Don't worry about picking up a dice. He's dead. Splat. Okay, next platoon. That's it for that whole battalion of T-72s.
And let's see. Could you zoom in on those 3 things down there? Those 3 that hangs out together.
These 3 here, you mean?
No. My targets.
Oh, which?
If you pull.
What, these guys down here?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. I don't think you're within half range there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, but you do get full firepower, just not double. Looks like you got a battalion command vehicle and 4, or I should say 2 companies of T-55s. No improved additions, and you're on their side of the ridge, so that they do not get hull down shielding.
So let's see. The XO and the CO will take a shot at the command vehicle. The 4 others.
The commanders are going headhunting. I like it.
Yeah.
28 versus 3. Oh man, I don't even know what. 28 divided by 3. Never mind. Don't worry about a dice. Boom. You gotta love that 7-to-1 table. Go away. That whole battalion now, what's left of it, that whole battalion now dropped the morale level. They're now morale E, because they're also Iraqi army. The only Republican Guard guys on there are the T-72s. So they're not all morale E. Anything that gets pinned stays pinned forever.
And
cool.
Then we got for
you have your actual platoon, which is up here. He fires 56. Is he going to fire at 1 or 2 platoons?
2 platoons.
Cool. That's 2 to 1. No bonuses. Roll a D6.
A 2.
A 2. They are pinned. And that's it, because they're not getting unpinned.
should probably have shot at one and actually gone for the kill point, but yeah.
No worries. Um, cool. So I think that's it for direct fire. Now we go to movement.
Rally.
Oh yes, rally your platoon. Also,
He rallies.
Damon, when you get a chance, see if you can rally your ITV on 1 through a 5.
A 4.
He does rally. Okay, now let's go to movement, everybody. Just to wrap up the turn, because the Iraqis may charge, and if the Iraqis charge, you're going to get another fire phase with opportunity fire.
Yep. So I'll pull 7 inches or 7 hexes straight west.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This guy can move 10, so he's just going to get back behind the tanks before he gets the. How about your Kiwa? What's he doing?
The Kua will pull back behind the tanks as well.
Okay. Yeah, as long as he doesn't end the turn within 4 inches of a. Now you got me doing it. 4 hexes of a low altitude. 4 hexes
Tank.
of a major tank
Pin tank.
concentration. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, pin tank. He can't do anything. Okay, how about your Apaches? Are they going to move around? They can move up to half.
They might as well move up towards my tanks. I just want to get out of the rank of that Gopher missile.
Oh yeah. Let's make sure he can't take another shot at you. His range is 40. Again, World War III ranges basically. Ranges are insane. But because you're low altitude, as soon as you get behind a ridge, you'll be okay. So yeah, you're fine. He has to shoot across 2 ridges. Just don't pop up.
Can we keep them within 5 of this southern ridge? The unit that's half dispersed. Can we keep the Apaches within 5 without being targeted? They can gun the survivors
1, 2, 3,
next turn.
4, 5, 5, 5. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if they're cagey about it, and yeah, Damon makes a good point because I mean, Panzer Leader is a game about details, and if you decide to park like right here, notice you're now 4 hexes away from the dispersed tanks, but 5 hexes away from the undispersed targets. You're outside of douche range. You're inside of double range for your 25 millimeter guns. The American, if there was a single thing that American, or coalition, because the British are going to get a lot of it. If I make up, if there's a, by the way, we'll talk about this in a little bit. If there's interest in this, you guys let me know. I'm already making up a Marine army for this. If we make up British Challenger 1s, Warriors, things like that, we can do like the Battle of Norfolk, some of the big British battles in Desert War, in Gulf War One. The British were heavily engaged in this one. Trust me.
Yeah, we weren't as heavily engaged.
Who's
I
we?
think Bruce would be up for some of that.
Are you sure? Because he normally eschews. Well, he plays Team Yankee because Team Yankee isn't real, quote unquote. He tends to stay away from moderns, for the reasons.
Oh yeah.
I honestly don't know. We can definitely ask him. But yeah, I know he would. I would, dude. You know me. I'll play Panzer Leader with anybody, and I'll play almost anything with pretty much anybody. But definitely Andrew, definitely Bruce Lee. But he might politely decline on that one.
Yeah.
Because reasons. But all right, so I think that's going to wrap up things because now that Rasmus pulled back with his Abrams, you're outside of overrun range, so there's no reason for me to go at you with those T-72s. The T-72s are going to stay where they are. Because these guys are effectively destroyed. I mean, they're now Morale E. They can literally never rally. If we were going to call the game, these guys would effectively, and if this was a real game, they would be destroyed eventually.
Yep.
And when I eventually, I mean like probably next turn. So for play testing purposes, That wraps up turn four, roughly half of a game. This guy would rally because he's number one Republican Guard, number two he still is his battalion commander. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, whoa, whoa, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. That becomes 26 if I count them as killed. I did kill that ITV. I dispersed a tank platoon after that. I think that is a 26 to 22 coalition victory. Or American victory.
Yeah.
And that's with you blowing up how many tanks? And all you really lost was one
26.
Bradley platoon. All you really lost was one Bradley platoon.
Yeah. Yeah. Not 26 tanks because we killed the 3 headquarters.
Yeah.
Or 2 headquarters.
2 headquarters killed and 1 dispersed.
Yeah.
130 armored fighting vehicles are burning on the table. Iraqi armored fighting vehicles, 5 American armored fighting vehicles, and you guys barely won. Won 26 to 22. That's with some mad, lucky, or I should say unlucky, some mad, unlucky Iraqi fire on their very first fire phase, and that's counting all of those dispersed units as kills. If we take those away, your score drops down to 20 to 22. That's actually an Iraqi victory. But in a real game, those guys would be mopped up sooner or later. So
yeah, don't be as gung ho as I were.
Hey, it definitely got him riled up. With it. Yeah, yeah. If that was a couple 4-to-1s with no hold down shielding, no improved positions or anything else like that. A couple of 4-to-1s. That's supposed to be a kill. I have to roll a 6. I rolled a couple of 6s. You can see now what that 6 was. That was like, oh, exactly what I needed for you to live. I rolled like 2 of those in a row. But all right, so that is a quick look, everyone, at what American Army might look like in partial, playtest demo game in Desert Storm. They ran forward. They kind of got caught between 3 battalions of Iraqi tanks. They pulled out. They kind of rallied. They're now in a much better position. I mean, look at this ridge. That's what the Gulf War is supposed to look like. That's not what the Gulf War is supposed to look like. And of course, down here we have more problems for the Iraqis. The bad news for the Americans is that they have used up most of their support assets. They're pretty much dry on toes. You do have 3 cavalry platoons and 1 ITV platoon that has limitless toes. And you use up all your MLRS and you've used up all your Hellfires on your Apaches. So now you're down to chain guns. The good news is
the chain guns ain't too bad.
Yeah, you've blown up quite a few Iraqi tanks. So this game would still be ongoing in a full setting. But again, I would try to keep these games a little bit smaller because man, there's a lot of complication in modern warfare. It's not like Poland. Yesterday we did Poland versus Piotr. I played the Germans and I finally won a game of Poland 1939, barely. And then we jumped from 1939 to 1991. You talk about a culture shock. Talk about some whiplash.
Yep.
In the capability and movement of tanks. So yeah, like I said, the Marines are started. This is sort of what the Marines look like in Gulf War I, because again, M60s instead of M1s, M113s instead of Bradleys, and LAV-25s. I haven't made those up yet, and AH-1 Cobras instead of Apaches. So everyone who plays Team Yankee knows what Cobras are like. The Army had pretty much already given up on Cobras by 1991. The Marines were still using. In fact, the Marines still use them to this day. And of course, our infantry are a little better. I think they have 810 or something like that for Marine Corps infantry. Only because they organize in bigger squads and bigger platoons. We have Blackhawks that no one used, but that's okay. These were all just options. We have A-10 Thunderbolts that nobody really used yet. Those are fun, but again, super expensive as far as bringing them on the table. MLRSs
And
weren't quite as powerful as I thought they would be, but you know what? It wasn't really their battle. If we had pushed deeper into the Iraqi backfield and we got mixed up with that mechanized infantry, those MLRSs would be engorging themselves on a feast of bone and blood. Those MLRSs absolutely tore the heart out of Iraqi infantry historically. The Iraqi
but
prisoners were like, my God, just stop the MLRSs, please. They called it Steel Rain.
but
That was,
it is not their fight against armor.
yeah, it's not really, which is fine. I mean, we're still getting used to the system here. I didn't know. Those Thunderbolts are the opposite. They're awesome against tanks. They're not that great against infantry.
That would have probably been the better choice for this particular battle.
Possibly, but again, this was just a tutorial. I literally made these counters up, some of them at 3 a.m. in the morning last night, or I should say this morning. So some of these counters aren't even 12 hours old, or they're now 14 hours old. So I have no idea what I'm doing with some of this stuff. We're just play testing. We're definitely closer than we were. I'm definitely happier than where we were last week. So I do feel confident if we want to start expanding. I didn't want to expand before because, like I said, the rules didn't feel quite gelled yet. My counters, I had to do way too many corrections on my counters. But now I'm ready to start American Marines. I definitely want to play American Marines. I want to do El Kafji so bad. But once you start dealing with American Marines at El Kafji, you got to worry about Qataris, you got to worry about French, you got to worry about the Saudi Arabians had AMX 30s there, and so on. And the British have Challenger 1s and Warriors and Lynx helicopters and all that other stuff. Yeah, so if people are interested in that, we can start playing around with British. The war was only 4 hours. It was 100 hours long. 4 days, 100 hours long. But it's still fun to game. And once we get the rules really set down to where we're really happy with it, that's when we start playing around with this. If I can get to my counters, Russians. And we start playing theoretical Middle Eastern wars with all kinds of Russian stuff. With notice these T-72s have better values because they're firing better ammunition. T-80s, T-90s, Heinz, flankers. We got. This is what happens when the enemy has air power. Be careful. So we can start doing all kinds of crazy stuff. We can start doing either Germany or Iran or Iraq theoretical stuff. Ukraine. That's what these guys were originally built for. Panzer leader in the Ukraine. There's all kinds of weird stuff we can do. I just wanted to get this
Some of the Team Yankee stuff from the book might be interesting.
The Team Yankee stuff. Okay, you mean Team Yankee stuff from the novel or Team Yankee stuff from the? Yeah. We could refight some of the battles in Team Yankee. The problem, I don't want to say the problem. The trade-off is here's Team Yankee. Are you ready to see Team Yankee? I will do all of Team Yankee right now. Here's Bannon and Ski, the characters from that book. Okay, here's second platoon. Here's third platoon, and then he had a platoon of mechanized infantry in half tracks, or not half tracks, half tracks, in APCs. And those were attached to him. He had to give away one of his tank platoons, so he did not have his third tank platoon. And then he had an ITV section. That's Team Yankee right there in Panzer Leader, almost down to the last nut and bolt. Those ITVs are probably a little OP'd because he had an element of 2 ITVs in his platoon. That's actually a platoon of 4 ITVs, so I might actually have to cut that down a little bit. But generally speaking, that's Team Yankee right there in... oops. Sorry, everybody, wrong button. And I'm still not able to get my little pen back, right? What the hell, dude? Give me 2 seconds to try and figure this out, guys. I had this neat little drawing tool where I could actually... oh, no worries. I won't screw up the stream on that. That's Team Yankee. So if you wanted to do that in Panzer Leader, it would be a very small game. Now, if you wanted to do something like the entire first of the 78th, that was the battalion that Team Yankee was attached to, you could do that. The problem with Team Yankee, and I've been on this semi rant before, is Team Yankee takes place in somebody else's cinematic universe, for lack of a better term. Team Yankee, Harold Coyle's novel, takes place in the world set forth in Arthur Hackett's, or no, Sir John Hackett's Third World War in Europe, 1985. That book was written in the 1970s. So Team Yankee is not a 1980s novel, it's a 1970s novel. And they're guessing what the 1980s are going to look like in the 1970s, and they do get a few things wrong. Like T 72s. All the tanks he usually fights against are T 72s. There's people that argue about whether or not you're up against a group of Soviet forces in Germany or central group of Soviet forces. They used more T-72s. That's in southern East Germany and Czechoslovakia, or what used to be Czechoslovakia. So that might have fought more American units in 5th and 7th Corps, CENTAG, all that other stuff. That's where you get a little bit of argument. But long story short, you really should be up against T-80s, not T-72. So there are some things that are a little wonky with Team Yankee the novel. Now, Team Yankee the game comes out, the second game, GDW came out with Team Yankee the game in 1989 or something. Team Yankee the miniature game comes out in whatever it was, 2015. And they said, okay, what are we going to do? Because now they're after 1980s, obviously. And they had actually kind of a tough choice to make. Do we stick to canon, i.e., the novel, or do we do what we know was correct in the 1980s? They chose the former. They chose option A. They went with the novel. And that's why those first sets, you got all T 72s, and there's no Bradleys, there's no Apaches. You get Cobras instead of Apaches. The M1 saw the. I think the kits actually had both choices, but the scenarios are mostly
Yep.
the scenarios are mostly written with the old 105s. This is all the stuff that's not really accurate. It's the stuff that was in the novel that was in the other novel. That's the pedigree, and that's why that turns into a bit of a problem. To Battlefront's eternal credit, and I've said this publicly several times, I'll say it one more time. One thing that Battlefront deserves all the credit in the world for is with their Red Thunder release. So with Red Thunder release, the first thing they did was they took out the T-72s and they included the T-64. And even more importantly, if you look at the cards, the T-64 actually has better values than the T-72, even though it's an earlier tank. Because the Soviets gave the T-64s to nobody. That was their tank. That was their baby. Then they came out with a T-72 that they pretty much shit on the rest of the world. Here you go, take one, take one, take one. It was never intended for Soviet Army use. Some Soviet divisions did wind up having to use it because reasons. But that was definitely a secondary choice. As soon as they could possibly replace everything with T-80s, they did so. Up until the collapse of the Soviet Union, that's complication number 1709, is the collapse of the Soviet Union falls apart, all of those T-64 and T-80 factories are in the former Ukraine. So the Russians lose those. That's why the T-80 is based on the T-64, and the T-90 and future tanks are based back on the T-72. Russian tank development actually has to take a bit of a step backwards because of where the factories and the design bureaus were when the Soviet Union came down in 1989 to 91. So it gets really complicated as far as playing Team Yankee and Panzer Leader and what tanks you would actually play with and so on and so forth. That's if you played directly out of the novel. You could kind of take the spirit of mid 1980s, Europe, Americans versus Germans in the Fulda Gap. You could play that shit all day long. GDW has a fantastic game called Assault. They've been doing that since 1984. And it's basically Panzer Leader on this scale in 1980s Europe. And they've been doing it right for going on 35 years. So
Or we could also just return to Lloydislavia.
There you go. Lloydislavia, you can do whatever you want. Yeah, you can do some big battles in Lloydislavia with this kind of system. I wouldn't be terribly keen on moving to Europe right away for the very selfish and unscientific reason that you'll notice all these American counters are drawn up in desert colors. And I literally just drew them. I don't want to redraw them all in MRDP camouflage or whatever. Uh, we could go to Europe eventually, but let's play in the desert for a while because I've got the counters already made in desert colors. The templates are all built for desert, and that's where the bigger battles actually take place, if you ask me. By the way, does anyone in the chat or has anyone on the call has anyone seen Oil Wars yet for Team Yankee? Does anyone have that book yet? Or
No.
okay, no, okay. Because another thing that Battlefront, oh, hella did right. I swear to God. If I was more conceited or whatever, if I was more, uh, you know, if I was more obsessed with my own self-image or whatever, I would be like, I swear to God, Battlefront is listening to me. I don't think they're listening to me personally, but for a while I was bitching and moaning and crying. I was like, for God's sake, Fate of a Nation is terrible because it deals with the 1967 war. The 1967 war is terrible for wargaming, especially in miniatures. Um, why would you pick the 1967 war? You know what they should do? They should expand it into 1973 war, the Arab-Israeli war. That's actually interesting. And instead of making it a Flames of War sequel, make it a Team Yankee prequel. Lo and behold, 18 months later, that's exactly what they did with the new Fate of a Nation release. They re-released it. It's in 67 and 73, and it's not in Flames of War system. It's in Team Yankee system, and there are differences. So somebody somewhere was listening. I'm not saying that Battlefront stole my idea or did what I told them to do, but no, seriously, in all seriousness, it was a great move. But I don't know about Oil Wars. Oil Wars is almost like the sequel to Fate of a Nation. Merkavas in Lebanon and theoretical wars in Iran and you know Operation Bright Star, Operation Sword Point, all that stuff. I just don't know if anyone had ever seen it and if it was any good yet. Novus Templar, you have Oil Wars. Okay, what do you think of it? Have you read it? Have you played any of it? Is it any good? I do have a PDF copy of the new Fate of a Nation release. The old Fate of a Nation release, not a fan. The new Fate of a Nation release, huge improvement. Um, I have talked a lot of trash about Battlefront in the past, but they are fixing many of their problems. I cannot think of a game company that I know of personally that has made more recent improvements than Battlefront. I'm a big fan of version 4, Flames of War, not so much version 3, and I'm a big fan of the new Fate of a Nation. Was definitely not a fan of the old Fate of a Nation. Um, oh, cool. So you're still reading through it. Yeah, so hey, if you ever get a chance to let us know what you think about it, let me know. Um, but those are the kind of battles that we would be doing here once we got done with some more historical Desert Storm stuff. Playing around with Desert Storm. Maybe it's fun, maybe it's not. Maybe bring in the British, bring in the Marines. Um, I could play Desert Storm till the cows came home. I have a pretty serious personal connection to this war because reasons. Um, but it is only 100 hours. There is only so much history that you can do in Desert Storm. So the springboard after that is going to become theoretical
Where to
stuff.
next?
Yeah, Russia invades Iran. America comes in. Trump decides to bomb Tehran. Who knows what the hell's going on? Who knows what's
Well,
going on?
there's also Desert War. Oh, yeah, Desert Storm Part 2,
Yeah, don't.
Iraqi Freedom.
Yeah, Toshash Miniatures, the people who came out with some of the bases for this game, do have 2003 units in here, including one I almost screwed up last night. They have the Javelin anti-tank missile, and I almost made up American Javelins for this. And then I did a quick research, and oh wait, they didn't use Javelins until 2003. So yeah, there's probably even less there as far as large scale.
Yeah, that was
2003
even more
Iraqi
one-sided.
2003 Iraqi Freedom, I think, is going to be a lot more of a force on force kind of a game. That's much more insurgent. So if Gulf War One, Desert Storm, if that's World War Two, Gulf War Two slash Iraqi Freedom or whatever, Iraq 2003 to 2011 is more like Vietnam. It's mostly a counterinsurgency war, and that just grinds on for years and years and years. Becomes increasingly unpopular at home. We eventually just leave, and the country falls apart. Stop me when this starts to sound familiar. Um,
Yeah.
that's almost Vietnam. The sequel is Vietnam in the desert. Uh, sadly. So I don't know if that would. I'm sure you could do some small Panzer Leader type games in 2003. Toshash Miniatures does have it in their TCME game. I just don't know how much good it would be. Uh, Even during that first big like 2 week invasion up into Iraq back in March of 2003, the Iraqi army was nothing like the Iraqi army in 1991. And as bad as it is here, it's like you just said, Rasmus, it's 10 times worse. Not only did they have the shit kicked out of them, they pretty much lost most of their army, at least the equipment of their army. Most of the troops escaped, but their equipment was mostly lost in 1991. But then there's 12 years of economic sanctions where nobody's selling to them. Nobody's, they have no money. They can't buy, even if somebody does want to sell to them. And their army is in really bad shape. There's a lot of suicide trucks, a lot of IEDs. It becomes a much more of an insurgency thing. That doesn't translate too well into Panzer Leader. I think it's more of a force on force slash Valor and Victory kind of thing.
Yeah.
But hey, who knows? We got some more going on in the chat here, guys. You do 10 by 20 tables. There you go. Well, let's see here. This map, 10 by 20. All right, we have, it starts off in column 1. It ends on column 64, I think. 64. So this map is 64 hexes wide at its widest, times 5 feet. At 15 millimeter, this table would be 320 feet. You would literally need a football field to play this table. So picture a football field with 15 millimeter miniatures. That's this table that we just used. Although, before it sounds like I'm bragging too much, I should say, in all honesty, the battlefield quickly kind of condensed into basically a third, if not less, a quarter of that space.
Yep.
So, but the
But
reason
that was more due to me throwing myself way too far forward to start with.
it made for an interesting stream. And again, we weren't, we're totally playtesting this, and we're just messing around. All right, guys. So if nobody else has any comments or questions, I will go ahead and shut down the stream. We've been streaming now for coming up on 4 hours. Is that it, really? From 2 to 6 is not quite 4 hours. Okay, cool. That wasn't too bad at all. Oh, did I shut down
was
my...
interesting.
There we go. And a lot of that was just jabbering around and talking or whatever. So, yeah. So again, if I had the Iraqi set up ahead of time and we didn't spend like half an hour talking about the units ahead of time and have technical issues and whatever, we could have played this whole game in about 3 or maybe 4 hours. But again, it was a small Panzer Leader game. But most of the battles in the Gulf were pretty small. I mean, you're talking about individual troops of American cavalry, companies of American tanks. It's not really, with some exceptions, these gigantic battles like you see in World War II, at least on the American side. But, all right, guys. Cool. Sit Rep Podcast. Glad you liked it. I'm going to go ahead and shut down the stream. Thanks very much one more time, everybody. I super appreciate everybody coming out. Not sure if this will go up on YouTube later. Well, actually, it's probably on streaming on YouTube right now. But, wait, what was the official Originally Sit Rep drinking game taglines? You didn't hear them because movie? I said them a couple times. And don't say taglines plural. There's only one. One's enough. Good God Almighty. My girlfriend's trying to, I don't know what she's trying to do. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and, let me turn on Mr. Webcam one more time here. I'm going to go ahead and close down the stream, everybody. Thanks very much to Dylan. I'm sorry, I keep calling you Dylan. Sorry, man. Damon. I play a lot with a guy named.
Mate, you're welcome.
I play a lot of games with a guy named Dylan, so I get names screwed up. Thanks very much, Damon. Sorry about that. Thanks very much, Rasmus. Hope you guys did enjoy it. It did come out, I think, to an American victory, although it's close. I'll call it an American victory.
We'll call it a draw.
Well, it'll be an American victory, but that's only because the Iraqis rolled like those first 3 sixes. If that game had been like down the middle of the road dice wise, you guys would have lost big time. But anyway, as it stands, 26 to 22. Again, just a play test, and the game would technically still be going for at least another 5 turns. But no worries. Thanks very much for playing. Thanks again for coming out. Thanks for the support, Gianna. Again, and thanks for the support, everybody who keeps watching SitRep. Every time we log on to do one of these Twitch streams, we see you guys come out. We super appreciate it. It makes us feel a whole lot better about what we do. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of stress. Not to just build the game, build the counters, build the map, test the rules, put it up on live stream, hope it doesn't catch fire, hope the game doesn't suck, you know. But when you guys come out and you put comments in the stream, you put comments on the YouTube channel, it makes us, it makes me feel good. You know, it makes us feel like, you know, we're doing this for a reason. Yeah, check out our thank you. Oh yeah, thank you everybody. Yeah, definitely. All right, everybody. I'm gonna shut down the stream. Thanks again, everybody, and I will talk to everyone later on in the week. Oh, one quick note: I will be out of town next Sunday. So there, I don't know if someone else on the Rib team is going to stream next Sunday. I will not be streaming next Sunday. I'll be up seeing my dad.
I'll be out probably looking at an 8-10. Last time we went to it, it did actually do a simulated ground attack.
Nice.
Out over Lake Erie, so
you're looking at you're looking at 8-10s at 1-to-1 scale. That's awesome.
Yeah, 1-to-1 scale minis. Oh, not so many.
Not so many minis. Okay, guys, thanks again. I'm going to go ahead and shut down the stream. I'll see everybody
I'll try
later.
to take a couple of pictures at the show. And
cool. Yeah, start a forum thread or something on tabletop. Let us see let's see what you see. All right, everybody.
Yes.
I'll talk to everybody later on in the week. Damon, thanks again. I'll talk to everybody soon.
Cheers, chaps. See you all.